I've lost.
All right.
I've lost where y'all at.
What's up, everybody? We are live with some election coverage 2024. Figured we'd jump in with everybody else that's going live and sharing their thoughts. So we will, don't know how many people will tune in, 0 or 1 or 2, but this thing will be posted no matter what once we close it out and everything. So
at least 3 are tuned in.
Hey, at least 3 of us are tuned in. That's right. That's right. Hey, maybe Kenny, if you wouldn't mind maybe posting something in our group page on Facebook.
I wonder, can I should be able to post the link, the live link in there, shouldn't
I? Probably.
Let me see here.
Probably.
Share.
Oh, there's one viewer. There's one viewer out there. Who that?
Copy link. All right, we're about to see how this works.
That's right. So while Kenny's kind of working on that, Joe, what you seeing out there? As anything you've been following or?
No, nothing yet. It's a little too early still, I think. The last I saw Electoral College count projected is 162 for Trump, 62 for Harris. But there's still a lot of states that are still voting. Clearly, you got the big ones, New York, California, that'll go blue. Those are big. They'll make up a lot of ground there. And then it's always odd to me. For instance, I saw, and we moved up here from Florida about 4 or 5 years ago. I saw within 30 minutes of polls closing in Florida, they had already calculated more than 60% of the vote. And Florida is one of the top 5 populous states in the U.S. So it's amazing to me that some of these just drag on, and it just doesn't make sense.
Florida's got it figured out for sure. Florida's got it figured out on how
Florida. I think after that big scandal, so many years ago, with all the hanging chads and everything, Florida kind of got a bad name. So I think they
buckled down and got it right. But then the other thing too is it's odd to me. Sometimes you'll have a state. I think South Carolina was called for Trump with only 23% of the vote in, and so sometimes that's interesting too. How they'll call some states really early, and then others they'll just drag out for days. So I don't know.
Right. So I think they have called one of the 7 swing states, North Carolina.
Yep.
Listening to Glenn Beck, they've already called that one for Trump. So that was one of the 7, right? We see you've got Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania
is the big one.
That's the big one. It's actually they have 19, I think 19 electoral college votes. Then you got Arizona, Nevada, and there's a couple others I'm missing.
Is it Michigan?
Michigan. Ohio used to be kind of a swing state, but that one.
Well, Ohio went Trump.
Yeah, that one's been going Republican the last couple of times. So did you get that figured out, Kenny?
Yep. I've got the link posted on the in the Facebook group right now.
Okay. So, very good.
We have one. We got Benjamin.
Both were.
What's up, Benjamin? We appreciate you being here with us, man.
Right.
He said hi from Utah.
Awesome.
I think Harris and Trump were both in Pennsylvania was their last stop, I think.
Right.
Is what I'd heard.
So
178 Trump, 99 Harris was the last update I've seen.
Yeah, we'll have Kenny pull up his map here in just a second. But there was a couple of things that I wanted to mention and bring up as we look into this a little bit. First of all, just want to thank all of those that are involved with the election process, from all the volunteers all the poll workers, those that run the voting stations, the polls and everything. There's a lot of work that goes involved in ensuring that this wonderful process takes place, and making sure that everybody has the opportunity to let their voice be heard with their single vote. The single votes add up to results, right? And
That's
so,
right.
and I mean, we've been doing this for over 200 years now, and it's a miracle in and of itself. Of course, we had the little hiccup with the Civil War that took place, but since then it hasn't come to that, thankfully, and that's a huge blessing, and just what a wonderful blessing that we have to be involved in this process. And for the most part, power is peacefully transitioned and turned over, from one party to another. Even back in 2020, when it was a contested situation, Trump, the left claims that he will do everything to keep power and to take and maintain as much power as he can. But even though he believed that he had the election stolen from him, what did he do? He peacefully left office, right?
Yep. He conceded. Even excuse me, we talked about that the other night. For those of you who may or may not have watched our Linger Longer, we post our Linger Longer a little bit early this week because we were talking about the election, and Joe had some really, really good points about the way that the election seemed to be going that night. It seemed to be going for Trump, and then there was 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. There's all of a sudden so many million ballots came in for Biden from nowhere, and the whole thing seemed just really fishy and statistically impossible. And I feel like I agree with Joe that I feel like they could have. There was the potential to put together a case of some kind of election interference there, but rather than really push the issue, Trump ultimately did just step down, say that's it. And
I'm not exactly sure what the reasoning was behind it, why they did it. I'm assuming it's just because they couldn't get the evidence that they needed. I'm assuming in the time frame that they had. But there was I remember listening to some people who were generally not political, but they were statisticians and stuff like that, and who had worked in government. And they had pointed out that there was several markers that that the U.S. uses to flag foreign elections as basically being corrupted in some way. Data had been falsified, or ballots had been dropped off in bulk or something like that. And they said that the markers were there, that something funny was going on. But it's just a matter of getting down to the granular level and proving it. And I thought, well, okay, the ball's in your court now, Team Trump or Republicans or whatever. And if you can't get it together and show it, then either you're inept, and I don't know that you need to be, given the election, or there's just not enough of it there to make your case. And it seems like there's been lots of things since that time that have come up in the courts and things about there were some changes made to the election processes in several states that didn't go through the proper pathways because of COVID. That was kind of the guise of a lot of these changes. So a lot of those things got reversed after the fact, but then you're still kind of stuck with the results and stuff. So hopefully, like I said, they got their I's dotted and their T's crossed. And if there's any funny business going on either side, that someone catches them. I know they recently arrested someone out in Arizona or something like that was basically doing ballot harvesting would be too kind of a phrase. It was illegal what they were doing. They were essentially getting absentee ballots in bulk right before the deadline, and then they were filling them out and submitting them themselves.
So what I've found is that the Republican Party are much more prepared and getting out in front of any kind of fishy business that might be taking place, any kind of shady things that might be going on. For example, I know in Georgia, swing state, Cobb County, they were talking about this earlier today. They were late on getting their mail-in ballots out.
Yeah.
And so
Supreme Court of Georgia. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were wanting to extend it, I think by 2 weeks, I think it was, and Republican Party jumped on that and filed suit, and Supreme Court made the decision, said, nope, polls closed 7:00. As state law, we're sticking with the law. And so
Right.
Cobb County, whatever you got to do to get your ballots out, do what you got to do, but it's closing at 7. So.
Right. And that's the
So
thing. There's a process for all of that, for changing,
right.
for changing deadlines, for changing how you vote, what kind of identification you may or may not have to, show at the time of voting. All these things are in law. And so that was one of the things that kind of got people into a tizzy last go around, was with COVID. There was a lot of, well, we got to do what we got to do, and we're going to just, make it happen. But then the other thing that frustrated me with Team Trump last go around was just the I don't know what you would call it, some of his advisors and things. And I pointed out Giuliani was one of them, who would say some pretty outlandish stuff. Like, we caught him red-handed. We've got the proof. We got the evidence. Tune in 7:00 tomorrow night and we'll lay it all out, and then nothing. Nothing would happen. And then you have another attorney would get up and say the same thing. We're going to present evidence that is, incontrovertible, and it's proven that it was stolen, and nothing. And then, time and again, I was going, what are you doing? You're damaging your own case. I mean, even if you're working on something, don't do it like this. That's crazy.
Yeah. But looking ahead, finding the blessings out of something like that, which is huge. Trump has admitted that he was not prepared whenever he stepped into office that first day.
Yeah.
And
Right.
he was just bombarded with having these appointments to make, and he was just bombarded with all these corporate people this time, this
Sure.
go around. So this actually gives him an opportunity to start fresh again with having 4 years of experience, which I don't know if have we ever had a president win and then lose and then win again? I don't know.
I think I can't remember who it is. Somebody has, though. I know that, I'm pretty sure that has happened.
It's been a while if that is the case, but this gives him a fresh start, right? And he can go in there much with experience now.
Yeah.
So
definitely, that's one of the things that I really loved about this time versus last time, is like his cabinet, the people he's surrounding himself with. He, like I said before, he kind of deferred to the party because he really, he wasn't a politician. He was completely new to all this. Whereas he knows what's going on now. He knows how the game is played. And he basically told the Republican Party they can kick rocks, and because he's hand selected, most of the people that he's surrounding himself with. And I'm super excited about Elon Musk and Tulsi Gabbard and Robert Kennedy. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Are y'all listening to are y'all able to see it, looking at the chat right now?
No, what chat?
Okay, so Benjamin Aust, I hope I pronounced that right. It reminds me, is that German? Because when I was in high school, man, there was a German exchange student. Me and him got to be really close friends, man. His name was Bjorn Aust, and I think it was spelled the same way, Aust. But anyway, he brought up something I would like to mention. See if y'all are familiar with this, because I saw in Jacob Hansen's Thoughtful Saints group on Facebook earlier today too. I saw this mentioned, the Ezra Eagle in the book of the Esdras. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, apocryphal text. Yeah.
So
with the eagle and the feathers of different lengths on one wing and the other, and what did you want to say about it?
Well, he said, so Bjorn said that, he said, I think because it fits the, hold on a second. I had to, I think because it fits the Ezra eagle in the book of the Esdras. Just he fits it, and I think somebody else had mentioned the Ezra eagle in the book of the Esdras, and I'm not super familiar with that myself. I know I've heard of it, but
Hmm. So I know a little bit about it. I don't know if you want to. So
yeah,
basically, so the book of Ezra, there's first and second. It's not necessarily chronologically ordered that way. It's just apocryphal text. So it's just maybe perhaps one version versus another version. And there's this vision. It's one of those kind of revelation type visions where it's almost nonsensical. Like, what is going on here? And
book of Revelation type things.
yes,
Lots of
exactly. And
symbolism.
so I think it was this eagle apparently was related to one of the monsters or whatever that Daniel saw in vision as well. So it's this three-headed eagle, essentially, is what he describes, and it has these feathers of differing lengths, and the feathers represented leaders, and the eagle was essentially a very powerful nation in the world, and the feathers were of different lengths, meaning the term that these leaders served. And so many people had thought it kind of suggested the Roman Empire. Others suggested it dealt with the British Empire. But then subsequently, a lot of people got on board and said, actually, this really closely mirrors the American Empire. And they did some comparisons on the lengths of these feathers and which presidents had a long, like 2 terms, which president had a single term, which presidents had their terms cut short due to assassination and in JFK's situation, and then Nixon as far as that goes for stepping down because of impeachment proceedings. But and it matched up fairly well to where it essentially picked up, I think, at Herbert Hoover was essentially the first one, because FDR was elected to, I think, 4 terms total, but then he died in office, whatever. Anyway, so if you do all that math, it comes down to Trump's term was going to be cut short. No, sorry, Trump's term was a full term. Biden's term was going to be cut short. And I think that's technically still debatable, because he essentially he's in office, but
Yeah, but
he's
is he
not
really
really
though?
right. That's the thing. So it may be in name only or whatever. So that I think that's still debatable. Like, okay, this could still be tracking with this this Ezra's eagle end of days kind of prophecy. And so the real interesting part is what happens right after this, which is that if I recall, the person who follows next, or the people who follow next, and I'd have to go back and check to say if it's this president or if it was during this election cycle or whatever. But essentially, it comes down to 2 people thought that they could rule together. Like it's almost like they had brokered a deal to say, well, why don't we just kind of split it between the 2 of us, kind of thing. But then that's when everything goes off the rails. The heads, the 3 heads of this eagle wake up. The one head in the middle like eats the other head, and then eats the other head, and then it dies or whatever. And then Christ returns. Like it just, this is the point where everything just goes off the rails, and Christ returns is essentially the long and short of it. So if this is referring to America, if this prophecy is referring to America, then things get really interesting really quick. One other side note that's kind of interesting is Ezra Taft Benson mentioned a book at General Conference that this interpretation of this prophecy was brought up in. And I don't recall the name of the book. It had to have been in the 60s, I bet.
So Benson brought that up during General Conference.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Ooh.
And what's perhaps even more interesting was that the church removed it from his talk. So anyway, for what it's worth.
Yeah, you got to
So
be careful about those speculating on those prophecies. I know when Mitt Romney first ran, I know there was a lot of people that if those are familiar with the white horse prophecy. There was a lot of people, and I admit for a minute there, I was kind of on board with that too. I thought maybe this is it. Maybe Mitt Romney is the fulfillment of the white horse prophecy. But that turned out obviously to not be the case.
Yeah, but it's
to put it lightly.
But it's still a great song by Chris Stapleton. White Horse is a really good one.
That's right.
But
And I
yeah,
think
so
as far as Biden not being in, Chad Lindsay made a good point in the comments that he said there's no way that Biden and or Harris have been actually running the executive branch now for the past several months.
well,
Which
so
that's
then
something
that's
that Elon and on Rogan talked about, because
right.
obviously Biden right now we're basically without a leader because Biden is he's out. He's not running anything right now, and everybody knows it. Kamala Harris has been out just campaigning. So
Yeah.
who's running the country right now? Who's been running the
Well,
country?
there was a study more than a decade ago, I think, that basically broke it down and said the U.S. is no longer, of course, not a democracy, not a pure democracy, but it's also not even a democratic republic as it was initially founded. That it was essentially how did they phrase it? Something like a small group oligarchy is what it is. And I mean, that's kind of what you're saying there. There's a network, a nebulous, incestuous network that's basically running things. There may be different persons at the head of the executive branch or whatever, but they're not really calling the shots anymore. They just don't have that kind of power. And that actually rolls right into that Ezra's eagle thing, that when the heads are waking up and stuff like that, there's a lot of discussion there about that kind of like the behind the scenes government power brokers and stuff like that going on. And that's apparently what that book was about that President Benson brought up. Now, he wasn't the prophet of the church at the time. He was an apostle. And man, going back and reading some of the histories there, because he had beef with oh man, what's his name? One of the counselors, first or second counselor in the presidency of the church. Man, they were beefing because he was fairly left leaning, and Benson was definitely hard right. And Benson got involved with what's that group? It may hit me in a minute.
John Birch group or something?
Yeah, the Birch Society.
John
So he got pretty involved with them, and it really ruffled a lot of feathers. And so he got called to a mission in Europe to help him cool his jets politically. And then anyway, so that's kind of the timing of all that going on. But he threw out the name of this book and was like, I recommend people read it or something along those lines. But then the church kind of, whited out over that the little pitch, little name drop. So anyway, but he's got, if you're looking for, pro-patriotic, pro-American kind of stuff, Benson of the time was pretty outspoken about it. Ruffled some feathers too internationally because, and that's an interesting thought, is because the church is Christ's church. It's worldwide. It's not an American church. It's not for, Americans only. And so when he would say things that were like, about yep, that sounds like it. None dare call it a conspiracy. Yep. And so when Benson would say stuff about socialism or the Socialist Party and stuff like that, how terrible it was, there's a lot of saints in other countries that their political parties, some of them would be like the national some sort of socialist party. And so then they would say, well, that's kind of what we have to choose from, or that's actually the best fit for our country. And so you're saying that our parties are bad, or our country's bad, or we're bad, or whatever. Right, so it kind of, I don't know if it got into semantics or what, but it kind of ruffled some feathers there too. It's probably way more than you wanted to hear about Ezra's eagle.
Interesting. But no, thank you. That was awesome. I like it. And as far as what was the phrase used, like a group oligarchy or something like that?
It's a small group oligarchy, something along those lines.
And, so I think right now, one of the things that Trump has recognized from his experience so far is that there is a large bureaucracy of unelected individuals that have lots and lots of power in this country, and
czars.
And that is
yeah.
one of the things, the Benjamin, the deep state. Yeah, that's so that's one of the things that I believe, after listening to the most recent interview that Rogan did with Elon Musk just a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Elon Musk is, if Trump gives him free reign to basically handle the situation, I see him handling Washington D.C. about the same way he handled Twitter.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's really what has to happen. And it's really hard to imagine because of the ginormous size of the government and how big it has gotten, right? And it's really hard to imagine how you can shrink something that has gotten so big.
Yeah,
but it needs to happen. It needs to happen.
That's one of the things. Yeah, Elon was talking about with Rogan. Right now, there's so many federal agencies right now that nobody actually knows how many there are.
Right.
You can't name them. Like, there's so many. He said the number kind of depends on how you define it, because there's so many different types of organizations that, they're all the way from large official federal organizations to these like quasi federal organizations that kind of just are, groups of appointed people doing things. And so there's
NGOs.
Kind of like, so there's so much there, man. Like, they need to go through and clean house.
And since you brought up Joe Rogan, I mean, how huge is that, and how far he has come? I mean, he spoke.
Wow.
He would speak down towards Trump, and I think that he, still isn't fond of some of his personality traits and everything. But now that he's had the opportunity to sit down and talk with him, and I do honestly believe that talking to Tulsi Gabbard, talking to RFK, talking to Elon Musk about Trump as well, and really hearing their perspective has really opened his eyes. And also, I think really when Joe Rogan himself went through what he did with CNN, talking about him taking horse medicine and altering his image and everything, when he was, going through the COVID and, refusing to take, to get vaccinated and all that stuff. All that has really opened his eyes and had the opportunity to really see what that deep state is all about.
Yeah. And I think I don't know, this might be going too far, but I would say a majority, I don't know if it's quite the vast majority, but a majority of people who have voted for Trump probably can identify with Rogan on that, to say there's a lot of things I don't like about him. There's a lot of things that I would change about him. There's a lot of things that I'm not proud of about him, or whatever, however you want to phrase it. But just because someone is not likable, just because you disagree with their past, doesn't mean that they may not be able to do the most good for you and your family today. Doesn't necessarily mean that the Lord cannot use an imperfect person to further his purposes potentially.
Absolutely. Look at King
and
David.
I think your buddy, what's his name with Thoughtful Faith? Is that the name of the?
Jacob Hansen.
Jacob Hansen. He had a quote from Joseph Smith discussing Porter Rockwell, who was a helpful, very helpful, but somewhat unsavory character. And Joseph said, "I love that man better who swears a stream as long as my arm, yet deals justice to his neighbors and mercifully deals his substance to the poor, than the long, smooth-faced hypocrites."
Yep. Porter Rockwell, man, it was the enemies called him the Mormon angel of death.
Well,
Porter Rockwell supposedly had more kills than Doc Holliday, and I saw somewhere there was a list of like all the the popular, the well-known gunslingers and stuff like that, and I can't remember where I saw it, but I read something that said Porter Rockwell had more confirmed kills than all of these men put together.
He was the man. He was the man for sure.
Yeah.
And talking about Joe mentioning about not getting along with people, the phrase that's come to my mind about Trump is principles over personality. Right? If we can look past personality traits, character flaws, whatever it is. I mean, we all have personality traits and character flaws that we can point out, right? That might not be conducive to each other and getting along and everything. But if you can stand on the same principles, you can go a long way. And it's one of the things, another podcast I was listening to, they were talking about the founding fathers and how there were several of those guys that couldn't stand each other, right?
Yeah.
But they worked together. They looked past their individual characteristic flaws or whatever it was that they didn't like about each other, and they worked together and they established this great country, with the Declaration of Independence, Constitution, Bill of Rights.
Speaking of which, man, I gotta say, if you've not seen the musical Hamilton, man, I love it. I flipping love it, man. My wife and I went to go see it in Jacksonville. Hamilton actually is it's one of those things that's it's entertaining, but it's actually a good learning tool, because what you're talking about there's a lot of the founding fathers are depicted and how they were like they despised each other and they fought openly, they argued openly, so it wasn't like this group of men that all came together and they all saw things the same way and they were all on the same page. Like, no, these were all very intelligent, very strong-willed men who had some really severe disagreements on how things should be done, what would be the best way about going about founding this nation. Because this was, when America, the United States was founded, this was the great experiment at the time. This was
Right.
unlike anything that had ever been done before. So yeah, there was a lot of disagreement, but they ultimately, came together and got it done.
Hey, Kenny, can you pull up the map you had earlier, the Electoral College map?
Yep, let's check it out.
See what we got.
You seeing it?
Somebody mentioned. Oh, sorry.
Now, I was just going to mention that I just saw here up on the TV I've got going that the Georgia Secretary of State says that optimistic that Georgia will be able to declare, Trump or Harris tonight, which is great. So I mean, if we can wake up tomorrow morning knowing who the next president is, I think that's great for the country.
Yep.
Either way, whichever way it is, versus getting
the longer it drags out, the more suspicion is aroused of some dirty dealings or something going on.
That's right.
Funny business. Yep.
Georgia is showing, Associated Press is showing 81% reporting right now, with 52.2% for Trump.
Hey man, I got to give a shout out.
Lead, but it's not a huge lead.
Right.
Right now.
Got to give a shout out to my home county, in Brantley County, right in the swing state of Georgia. Heavily favors Trump. They even did a CNN piece. CNN came down here to small town Brantley County, did a 7-minute CNN piece on looking for Democrats. They were over, I think, almost 91% for Trump last time in 2020. And I think they were at 91 reporting this year for Trump. So listen, my county's doing its job. So
that sounds like Brantley understood the assignment. Huh?
That's right, exactly.
So did that map pull up for y'all a minute ago when I clicked on it?
It did a while ago, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it sounds like 9% of Brantley's population is in cemeteries.
Yeah, that's right.
So, somebody mentioned earlier that there was a country in South America that did kind of like the Twitter experiment, but as a country. And I don't know, it could be a toss-up between El Salvador, which is the new president of El Salvador went on a kind of a, yep, that's the one, went on a kind of a mission to eliminate crime in their country. And so I can't remember how many tens of thousands of gang members got arrested, put into prison, and immediately like the violent crime rates dropped, the murder rates dropped, like all the problems started disappearing. So the country is going through a renaissance. So there's that one as an example, but there's also Argentina with my man Javier Milei, and he's the guy with the crazy hair, and he gets so animated. I love it. And he's much more on the economic side, and so
Right.
he's basically fired so many departments. He's the one that goes down the board of all these government departments and NGOs and all that, and he just goes afuera, and he's throwing these whole government departments, just taking the name tag off the board and throwing it on the ground, afuera, afuera, just throwing them away.
Wow.
And so now they're going through quite the renaissance down there. Their financial situation is apparently much improved. The people seem to be much happier. So
That's
those
what I'm hoping for us.
yeah.
I'd love to see us going through our own renaissance of making America great again. And that's
Yeah.
I know that's a controversial
Phrase.
little
Phrase
phrase there. A lot of people have obviously twisted it, but to me it makes sense, because there was a time that the United States was the leading superpower in every possible way, not just militarily, but economically and artistically, as far as education, everything. And we now, man, what is it?
And
Education.
I would even say like morally as well. I mean, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
just the strong Christian principles.
Well, I think those principles are what I think enabled it really to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so yeah, I mean, I think somebody can correct me if I'm wrong right now. I think the United States ranks somewhere around 35th as far as education wise, which is
I can't
horrible.
count that high, so I don't know.
Yeah, like there is no reason that the United States of America should rank so low. And I know the United States actually ranks horribly as far as infant mortality too, as far as developed countries.
Mm.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of man, we've got a lot of problems right now. With all
love-
to be the size that this country is, with the resources that we have, there's no reason we should be struggling with the things that we're struggling with right now. And so, yeah, I'm praying that we have our own renaissance. Trump will get in there and be like, "You're fired." Get him out.
I think RFK coming on board is astronomically huge. I mean, him
I'm so
and
excited
wanting
about
to
this.
accomplish the things that he wants to with the food industry.
Yeah, have you seen his Make America Healthy Again?
Yes.
He's got his own
Mhm.
hats and everything.
Oh,
Make
yeah.
America Make America Healthy Again.
He said he's been praying and praying for God to put him in a position, right, to be able to really change the health status of this country. And he says, God sent me Donald Trump, so for him to set aside any kind of pride that he may have in running and setting that aside and saying, "Hey, I want to join your team." Right. That's huge. And that's really what it's all about, is
And
coming together. But because
Ramaswamy
they
did the
don't
same
agree
thing.
on the same things. Do what?
Yeah, Vivek
Mhm.
Ramaswamy had an active presidential campaign of his own. He was running for president.
Yeah.
And so he's Team Trump now. Yeah, so we've got him and Tulsi Gabbard and Elon and Robert Kennedy Jr. Man,
Big
it's
names.
a powerhouse
Big
of a team, and we've got a lot of potential to get a lot of good things done, I think, for everyone. And my sincere hope is that there's obviously a large percentage of the population that if Trump does win this election are going to be really upset and think that it's a horrible, awful thing. But I hope that in the end, eventually the things that are done are going to be beneficial for everyone, and people will be able to see
it, recognize it.
Recognize how, the things that are being done in Washington are benefiting everyone equally.
Yeah, I'm thinking the other thing that I've thought about is the names that you mentioned. You've got to have those big names at the top to really try and move things forward and make people with money. I mean, that's facts, right? I mean, we see it. George Soros does with his money, right? You've got to have people with money that can make things happen and put things in action. And then you need all of us on the local level involved. in the local, at the local, politics, communities, and everything. We have to be involved one way or another in county commission, board of education, city commissions, city clerks, all that. We've got to be involved. I went in today, to poll. It's been mentioned here before that I have ran for office one time, board of education, a few years ago, did not win. And anyway, walked in, and as I was walking out after I'd finished voting, one of the pollsters there said, "Hey, I noticed your name wasn't on any of the ballots in here today." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Wait, it was not." I said, "But don't count me out. My name will be back on a ballot at some point. I promise you it will."
Good. Good
Hey,
deal.
so are you able to pull up that map at all?
Yeah, let me know if are you seeing it?
No.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me bear with me. I'm clicking on share screen. I'm clicking on
Man, while you've been talking, I've been scrolling through some of the notes I'd
all right,
saved.
is it showing now?
Yep.
Okay, good.
So, some of the notes I'd saved from Alexis de Tocqueville's Democracy in America.
Mhm.
It's too it's too wordy, I think, and too long. But it's so good, and it's touching on the same stuff you guys had just been talking about. Just so well written. Yep. I thought there might be one part I could share if I could find it.
So
Go ahead. What were you gonna say about the map? Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. I was just going to ask, why you're looking for that. So yeah, this is Google's results
Yeah, this is from the Associated Press.
from the Associated Press. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, right now got Harris 109 electoral votes, Trump at 198. And the thing that has got me nervous is that 4 years ago, I remember staying up and watching it, and it looked like Trump had it in the bag. It was just, and then 4:00 in the morning, this truckload of ballots shows up for Biden out of nowhere, and
Can
that
you
whole
click on?
thing. So like I got to admit, I'm optimistic, cautiously optimistic, because
Pencil.
I don't know if there's something planned, if the DNC has something up their sleeve that they're going to try to do to shift the election.
Well, like I say, I think the Republicans were not prepared last time. I think they're prepared this time. I
hope so.
really do. So, but yeah, I mean, we were kind of sitting in the same spot, this time 4 years ago. Everything was kind of
Yep.
looking pretty good. I think Joe was going to ask you to see if you could click on something.
Was it Joe?
Pennsylvania. It looks like it's turned more maroon now than it has. Yeah, it has.
Yep.
It's shifted.
Wow.
It was more
50
purple
to
earlier.
48.
Mm.
It was
Wow.
still earlier. It's now
That's
52%,
53%.
53% reporting. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a
Interesting.
good,
You know
good
what
sign.
shocks me is this right here, Maine.
It's still only 8% reporting.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Hey,
so the other thing you watch
go
out
ahead, Joe.
for those, especially when they're early, is some states will do their mail-in ballots or their early voting is usually sitting on the side. So those ballots have all been collected, but none of them have been processed yet. And so many times, whoever in that state tends to vote early will get an early jump, and then that can completely change depending on just local norms. Some people like to vote on election day, some people like to vote early, and it can be party specific. So, and then some states they count them differently, or they mix them in with all the rest. So it doesn't always happen that way. Nevertheless, interesting. 8% in, and it's leaning toward Trump.
Hey, hover over Georgia.
Let's see what we got here. All right. 51.3 to 48%, 88 reporting.
88. That's a
Pretty
pretty good lead, though.
Yeah.
What's the mandatory recount in Georgia? Is it 0.5% or 1%?
I don't know.
I don't recall either. There's a threshold though if it's within a certain percentage, and it might be if it's less than the 50%. So if there's a plurality, then it might kick in for an automatic recount if you're within a certain percentage of your opponent. But I mean, I think we learned last time the recount rules are kind of stupid anyway, because they were, people were saying, oh, there was fraud involved, it was stolen, whatever, and they said, well, we're going to do a recount, and then when they recounted, they're like, no, we got the same numbers, and I'm going, wait a minute. if the accusation was somebody dumped like 2,000 ballots or 20,000 ballots all at one time, all for one candidate, and they're all fraudulent, then recounting the fraudulent ballots is not going to fix the problem. Like, what are we doing here? So
what are y'all's thoughts on, so Trump said, so he come out and gave a little presser today. And he had mentioned, the issues they have with electronic voting and everything and involving computers. And he threw out the idea of going back to just complete paper. What are your thoughts on that? What are the pros and cons there?
Well, I didn't know if you wanted to jump in first, Kenny.
No, go ahead. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about that myself.
Yeah. So my oldest daughter, this is her first time voting, and she was kind of saying, why do they print out the ballot? Why do you fill it out on the computer and then they print it out? And then my youngest daughter was saying, well, why don't we just do it, from your home computer or whatever? And I think one, you want a paper trail. You want to be able to say this vote right here matches this person right there. Right. Mm-hmm. So I think you want some sort of a paper trail. At the same time, though, if you have people filling out ballots and then now you've got questions of did the right ink get used? Did you fill in the bubble completely? Did you overfill the bubble? Did you, did someone do a check mark instead of filling in a bubble? Those start popping up as issues. The other thing that really pops up, I think, when you're talking about fraud is if there's electronics and you don't have a paper ballot, that's an open door for potential massive fraud. You can just slide in 10,000 votes at a keystroke, right?
Right.
So there's that issue. But the other issue is with this whole absentee ballots, that's got to get addressed, because if someone can drop off 20,000 absentee ballots for nursing home residents or dead people or people who lived in homeless shelters and now they've got their names and whatever information they need and they're using the homeless shelter and they've got 10,000 votes for that place and one person fills them all out, then that's a problem, right? Because then you're it's fraud. I mean, you're sliding votes fraudulently for one party or the other, one person or the other. So I think that's an issue. I like the way Georgia does it now, as far as this part where you can fill it out on the screen.
I think Georgia has a really good ballot. System. I like it.
Yeah. It's the best, in my opinion. It's the best blend of the consistency and ease of electronics, but with the kind of the bulletproofness of the paper
trail. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you come in, one of the things that I noticed that's posted very clearly when you walk in is there's a list of acceptable forms of identification.
Right.
So they do confirm, that's one thing that they do right off the bat is you have to have a state issued ID, a driver's license or a voter ID or some kind of state issued ID to confirm your identity. And then once your information is put in, they give you the card that corresponds, the little electronic card. You take it to one of the little booths, you stick your card in, you make all your selections electronically, and then like Joe said, it prints out everything very clearly. And then as you walk out, one of the things that I noticed too that I really liked is that there's like a big trash can, with a lock on it that's got a scanner thing at the top. And so you slide the paper ballot in and the scanner reads the paper ballot. And they make sure that before you put it in, it says, so are you happy? Is your ballot correct and everything? You say, yeah. And so they tell you where to, and the lady said, okay, now hold on, just wait, watch the screen and wait until it shows that it was properly counted. I said, okay, right. Yes, ma'am. So everything is they're crossing the T's and dotting all the I's. I think Georgia is making good efforts to make sure that minimize any kind of funny business. Make
Yeah.
sure that the election process is as fair and open as possible.
So got
Yeah.
go ahead, Joe. Go and finish
I
that
was just
thought.
saying the only caveat to that was just the absentee ballots. You got to close any loopholes there where people could potentially submit, fraudulent votes.
So Mark Levi here, he says, do y'all have any speculations or opinions for Trump's cabinet choices? And I'll throw out there if elected.
True. Yeah, very true.
I don't really have any, don't really know enough of the individuals that he would even have out there as options. I know he's going to be a lot more selective this time, go around based on things that he said versus just being bombarded from all the corporate people and really not knowing, who to select, who he can select, who he might have an opportunity to select. So
my guess is he'll be less militarily inclined this go around. It seemed like his initial cabinet had multiple generals on it. General Mathis, General Kelly. I can't recall some of the other ones by name. Several generals, and I think President Trump has always had an affinity for military
Right.
institutions and military leaders and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think they didn't agree too much. So I think they caused him some problems. Flynn was, I guess, one of the ones that was Michael Flynn was going to be one of the ones. Then he kind of got in trouble. They were trying to bring him up on some archaic law charge. He was interfering or something like that with transition of power. I don't know. It was a mess, but I'm not a huge Flynn fan anyway, but I don't expect he will be on the team, but I'm guessing less generals. It wouldn't surprise me if Ramaswamy, Vivek.
I like Vivek, man.
Yeah, I like Vivek
It
a
wouldn't
lot
surprise
too.
me if he wasn't
Yeah.
put on
that's
the
true.
cabinet somewhere. Trying to think of some of the other ones. I don't know that Tulsi Gabbard. It wouldn't surprise me though that RFK Jr. I think he's even been told as much, basically, that you'll be part of the
Mhm.
leadership team. I don't know that he said cabinet specifically, but it wouldn't surprise me that he's on the cabinet somewhere. Gabbard, I don't know. I don't know if she would get one too. It's not a bad idea, I don't think. I mean, she does have a military background, and she would, I think, help that middle road support and kind of. And I think Trump had even mentioned like the Abraham Lincoln. There was a book written about him, and his cabinet was basically his political opponents, which was never heard of at the time. Why would you do that? I think it was called Team of Rivals, I think was the book. It was very, very well written, very well done.
Well, Trump is, he's got a cabinet of Democrats or former Democrats.
Yeah. Musk, I don't know that he'd be a cabinet position. I don't know that he would even accept it. He's got plenty of other things going on. But it wouldn't surprise me. He's on an advisory board. I think he even said as much for the Department of Government. Something starts with the E.
Oh, efficiency, I think. Yeah, because he was on the end because it's Doge. That's you know how Elon is so gosh, man, he's such an eccentric character. Yeah, like so the name is actually Doge because I remember him kind of laughing about that. Yeah, Department of Government Efficiency, Doge.
Yep. So I don't
well, and according to Mark Cuban, Trump is definitely not going to surround himself with any strong, intelligent women. Did y'all see where Mark Cuban said that?
I didn't see that?
You didn't see that?
No.
Mark Cuban cannot stand Donald Trump. And anyway, he got hammered, man. Got hammered on social media whenever he said that you never see a strong, intelligent woman around Trump. He says he doesn't like them. He keeps them away from them.
Yeah.
And son, talking about all the strong, intelligent women coming out and
Yeah.
just blasting
Pouncing.
Mark Cuban.
Yeah. Yeah, he deserved it though. He's kind of
Yeah.
I've always liked, I've really liked his his business acumen and his entrepreneurship and so forth. I cannot understand why, and same for a lot of these people. I don't understand why knowing how far you've come and the stories that you have shared to help for you to be successful the way you are. I don't understand the thoughts that you have, the political thoughts, that the thought process you have.
Yeah.
I think it's preservation of the status quo for him. That's my guess, is that he has enough that's tied up in the way things are going, whether that's directly or indirectly, whether he has direct contracts with military government or non-government organizations or
Right.
whatever. I think he needs to keep that flowing and keep that going. Or if it's a secondary or more tangentially related, that his businesses depend on other people that depend on things staying the way that it's going. Whatever the case, it seems like something like that, because he's normally, I'm with you on business and stuff. He seems very logical, very 2 + 2 = 4. But then anytime it seems to relate to politics, he can't
He
really
goes out in left
explain
field. It's
anything.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he argues the point without getting to the specifics of the point. So
Yeah.
to me, that sounds like I don't know if you've ever seen these
Kamala Harris.
CEOs. Yeah, who was ever playing the devil's advocate because they work for the corporation, so they're taking the corporation side, and you're going, but that's insane. And you're like, well,
Yeah.
just playing the
Well,
devil's
that's,
advocate.
that's how a lot of people are. It reminds me of Neil deGrasse Tyson. I'm actually a huge fan of Neil deGrasse Tyson. Man, Neil deGrasse Tyson. I know a lot of people, since he's become so famous, they think he's just a Bill Nye the Science Guy or whatever. But no, when I took astronomy in undergrad, I know my professor. We were talking.
I didn't know
about
you took
Stephen Hawking.
astronomy. Can you tell my future then?
Yeah, that's astrology, Joe.
Oh man, my bad.
So
what are you? What's your
anyway,
sign?
It was interesting because she worked for NASA, and she was on multiple teams that developed some of the big telescopes that we have now. So it was pretty impressive. And she said, Stephen Hawking is a celebrity, and everybody thinks he's just the greatest thing because because of his disability, and he's still such a great mind. But apparently, he is very disliked within the field of astrophysics because he is known for stealing other people's ideas and claiming them as his own. He's
Hawking?
known for overcomplicating things. Because I told her I actually read Stephen Hawking's Universe when I was in high school. And I probably only understood maybe 10% of it because it's so deep and so dense. Most of it was so far over my head, but it was interesting. And she said, if you really, really want to learn about astronomy and astrophysics, read Neil deGrasse Tyson. And since then, I've discovered Neil deGrasse Tyson is actually very well respected within the field of astrophysics. Smart guy. However, the point that I'm getting to is as much as I admire Neil deGrasse Tyson, when he tries to talk about religion, he makes me cringe because he speaks with the same authority when he starts getting into the realm of religion that he does when he's talking about physics. But his understanding of religion is, in my opinion, that of a bright 12-year-old who knows just enough to give his Sunday school teacher a hard time. He does not get it. He does not get it at all. Like it makes me cringe so hard. I'm like, gosh, man, Neil, come on, stick to the astrophysics, man.
Hey, I'm going to try something real quick. Okay. So Glenn Beck is he's live right now. I'm a
see if we can get Glenn Beck's live on our live.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to try that real quick and see if I can share that
what
real quick and see.
That'd be fun if it
That
worked.
works real quick. Hold on 1 second.
Live squared.
That's right.
And maybe then Beck will have somebody live that we have
Yeah.
live cubed.
Going live to Washington, D.C.
Let's see.
by way of Brantley County, Georgia.
That's right.
I had a quote I was looking for and I haven't found it. I found one quote. I sent it to you guys, but I'm trying to find another one. I can't find it yet.
What is it? Joe, you're the quote master.
I know, right?
Whip that quote out. What you got?
Oh, the one I sent?
Oh, no.
As democracy is perfected, the office of president represents more and more closely the inner soul of the people. On some great and glorious day, the plain folks of the land will reach their heart's desire at last, and the White House will be adorned by a downright moron. H.L. Mencken.
It's a good quote. I think that's the way
All
we've
right,
been.
I'm try here real quick.
I got a text from someone who is very
Y'all
well
hear it?
connected in
Oh,
conservative
yeah.
circles.
What's
His name-
up?
I'll tell you during the break. It's a
We're
name that
live
we would all
streaming
know.
Glenn Beck live.
Who texted me the fundraising
Jackson, you're a
numbers for
high-tech
one of the major
redneck.
pro-life
Right,
groups
baby.
around the country, and was like, "Where's all this money being spent? Where are all these people at?"
I know.
And
That's
so,
Steve Nace
why
right there.
aren't they on the ground helping us beat all these amendments in Arizona? I don't see them anywhere. He told me. So the reality is tonight is overall.
I wish I
White
could
evangelicals are going to
mute
have a very long
him.
conversation about who their leaders are, how they're going to proceed moving forward in the future, what their messaging is, how
Without
they want to do
muting
business politically.
my mic.
Tonight
Figure
was
that out
not
real
a good night for white evangelicals.
I think-
no way to spin it.
I think you're absolutely right on that. But I also, have talked to enough leadership to know that there is a deep division. All of our churches are under attack. The evangelical, the Southern Baptist, all of that is really
We feel you, Southern Baptist.
involved in an internal war right now,
Yes.
where I think a lot of it is just being misguided.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of, I've been a Southern Baptist for a long time. We've been through a lot over the past few years, but I think our biggest problem is not pastors who are overtly woke, but the pastors who this is all they give their congregations. They say this: both sides are bad and Jesus is coming back. And so their congregants are left thinking, well, I don't know what to think about abortion. What do I think about gender? What do I think about immigration? I guess the Bible doesn't have anything to say about these things. And then the
So, hold on one second. So I will say that she's talking about the abortion.
Mm-hmm.
That's been up on that. I know that was in Florida. That was huge in Florida. That failed. So that's that's great news. Great news.
Yeah, I think her criticisms of the Southern Baptists are not that's not limited to them though. I think that's a problem that is pretty universal. Even I dare say within our own church. I know our church leaders have been careful to try to steer clear of politics as far as candidates, and so there are, there's, as far as Latter-day Saints, there's a whole gamut of people politically and socially, from very liberal to hardcore conservative. And so, yeah, there are certain issues though, like abortion is one that I liked that the church had the official statement that mentioned abortion specifically as an issue.
Yeah.
And this here, Laura says, well, I guess rarely popular. I guess that's Laura. Yeah. Do you accept Latter-day Saints in your club group? We got a club group now because that's what I am. Welcome, rarely popular Laura. We are Latter-day Saints as well, and you are more than welcome to our club group. We're glad to have you.
There you go.
Yeah, look, go on Facebook. Just look up Saints in the South on Facebook, Saints in the South on YouTube. And we have a Saints in the there's the Saints in the South page on Facebook, and also a Saints in the South podcast group. And the Saints in the South podcast group is where we have most of the discussion and other stuff going on. And that's so I guess that might be where, I don't know if you found us there, because we're live on YouTube right now, and I posted the link in the group, podcast group. Awesome. Right on.
Man, I cannot find that quote, and it's bugging me now. Oh wait, I thought of another keyword. Maybe I'll find it.
So Joe, your oldest daughter voted for the first time today.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty
The
cool.
other day we voted early.
Oh, you voted early. We showed up and we had our oldest daughter as well. She went and
Yeah.
Saw the picture with Lily.
she
Yeah, that's awesome.
voted with us and everything. So that was pretty cool.
Was this her first time voting?
It was. Yep.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Yep. She's 19. My son Brody, he missed the cutoff by 15 days. He turns 18 on November 20th. So he
Oh,
was
dang.
pretty bummed that he wasn't going to be able to vote this go around. But that was pretty neat. So with Lily, she can't read or anything. So I was curious as to how that would work. Would they allow me or my wife to go into the booth with her to read to her,
Right.
or would an election pollster
Be the one
volunteer
to.
be the one to do
Yeah.
it? But they let us.
What did they do? They let you help her?
Yeah. So I
Okay.
went, and so on the first one, of course, the first one is the President of the United States, and so I read it to her, and I read all the names, and I said, "Who do you want to select?" And she said, "Trump." I said,
Mhm.
"All right, baby, let's do it."
Mhm.
I was amazed at the number of names on the ballot. Holy cow.
Yeah.
What was
Yeah.
it, man? There's all these write-ins that were listed on the official ballot. There was like a dozen
yeah.
at least. It was crazy.
It's always surprising when you see those and you're like, I don't even know these people. Never heard of them.
Yeah, never heard their names before in my life. All
Bruce.
right. Bruce
Yeah,
K,
Bruce.
welcome.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
South
Is there any?
Atlanta area. Bruce, I used to live in Stockbridge. So is that the South Atlanta area that you're in? I was in Stockbridge for a couple of years there. After I moved from Athens. So wonder what it's like up there in Atlanta with all this voting going on here.
I don't know. Atlanta.
There's gonna be
is
heavy
different,
Democratic
man.
Areas. That's just
Yeah,
just
Atlanta
that is.
is not very representative of the
Huh.
rest of Georgia. I think it's almost a different place. Yeah,
Douglasville.
Atlanta metro area is predominantly a Democratic. They vote
Yep.
Democrat overwhelmingly within that area, but whereas the rest of the state is pretty much overwhelmingly Republican.
Rarely probably says, "I'm on fire, boys. Get ready. I just left the bishop meeting." Yeah. Hey, Bruce, Douglasville. I had an uncle and aunt that lived in Douglasville, Jerome Myers and Teresa Myers in Douglasville. They lived there for several years. So you may know them.
Good deal.
Here's a quote for you. It's still not the one I was looking for, but maybe I'll get to it. This is from President Ezra Taft Benson. Could many of our ills today have resulted from our failure to train a strong citizenry from the only source we have, the boys and girls of each community? Have they grown up to believe in politics without principle, pleasure without conscience, knowledge without effort, wealth without work, business without morality, science without humanity, worship without sacrifice?
Hmm.
Oh, that's pretty solid.
I like that. I tell you what, though, whatever happens, I don't think the world or the country is going to burn down quite yet. I think people will continue, for the most part, people will continue to live their lives as they have done for years and years. for either side, I don't think it's the end, right? I think we're going to get up the next day, and hopefully that's tomorrow. Hopefully we can get up tomorrow morning and continue about our day and kind of go. What you saying, Joe?
Nope. Finish your thought.
I was just going to say, get up tomorrow morning, continue our routines, and also make the changes that we feel like we need to make. You know, whether it's spiritually, whether it's politically, you know, getting involved more again on the with our local communities. Again, that's where it's at. That's where real change can take place.
Be
Locally.
the change that you want to see in the world.
Yep, exactly. Be the change you want to see in the world. And if the election results from the top presidential election all the way down to what your local elections are, if they didn't turn out the way you wanted, then you know, we just get involved more. So
Absolutely.
That perfectly flows into the quote I finally found that I was looking for.
Finally found it. Come on, lay it on us, Joe. What you got?
Now more than ever, the people are responsible for the character of their Congress. If that body be ignorant, reckless, and corrupt, it is because the people tolerate ignorance, recklessness, and corruption. If it be intelligent, brave, and pure, it is because the people demand these high qualities to represent them in the national legislature. If the next centennial does not find us a great nation, it will be because those who represent the enterprise, the culture, and the morality of the nation do not aid in controlling the political forces. James Garfield.
Wow.
1877.
Good one. I don't think I've heard that before.
No.
Don't quote Master Joe here.
that's right. I'm going to put that one on a meme we can post.
There we go. I'll send it to you.
Bruce says the jig is up and the news is out. America knows how bad the last 4 years were and are okay with tonight's results.
Yeah, I think a lot of people too are waking up. That's something. Once again, going back to the, I guess it's fresh on my mind because I just finished listening to the Elon Musk interview with Joe Rogan today, and that's something that one of the points they talked about is how the legacy media is dying, and long form podcasts are going to be the savior of everything, I think, because long form podcasts are a totally different platform, unlike anything that has ever existed before, where candidates and people with ideas, you can lay it out. They can talk. Trump, my gosh, what was that, like 3 hours? Didn't he talk for, I think that was about a 3-hour podcast.
Yeah, which is what Joe Rogan normally does with people. So
yeah. So I think the long form podcasting is a good thing, because other than that, the news agencies are all they all have agendas. They all lean in one direction or the other. So they're going to interpret the news through the lens that they see the world. And with the long form podcast, you go straight to the horse's mouth, and whatever a particular candidate, you get to listen to them explain their position. If they're on Joe Rogan, it might take 3 hours to completely and thoroughly explain their position, rather than having somebody else interpret what they said, or, you know, play little snippets out of context or anything like that.
That's the biggest thing. I don't know if you saw the latest clipped, edited video that they tried to pin on Trump when about the women comment. The one whenever basically where they clipped him saying, you know, I don't care what the women think about it, I'm still going to do it, right?
Yeah.
And they're trying to, you know, make it as if it's the abortion thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So they're making up.
It totally was not that at all.
No. Yeah, and they knew it. They're just flat out lying.
That's what I can't stand, is that they don't. If we would just allow the process to take place, allow the battle of ideas to take place with freedom of speech on all the way around, then whatever happens, right? It is what it is. Yeah. But these digs, and I will admit it's on both sides. it is legitimately on both sides. You know, so if we could somehow get that out of there, unfortunately, it won't ever be that way. But that's why that's why we need the long form podcast.
I think I agree. And one of the reasons, you know, it's no secret that I tend to lean more to the right. Sean Hannity said something.
That's just
years
because you're
ago.
not wearing a shoe on that side.
That's right. So Sean Hannity said something that I heard him say one time. I used to listen to, you know, Glenn Beck and Sean Hannity and all that stuck with me forever. That I loved. He said, Sean Hannity said that conservative ideas, when properly expressed, will always win in the marketplace of ideas.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I believe that to be true.
Yep.
So that's what we need to do. We need to have complete freedom of speech. We need people to be able to voice their opinions, conservative, liberal, progressive, whatever it is, but lay them out there, man. Let everybody should be as educated as they can possibly be on other people's perspectives and other points of view to be able to make the most educated choices you can. You know, you can't really make you can't make an informed decision on anything if you're not informed.
Yep. And nobody should have a right to oversee my comments and my thoughts and edit them and take them out and take them down if they deem them inappropriate as far as ideas are concerned. With, you know, go ahead.
Unless you're married, then there's one person gets to veto power.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
aside from that,
Take that
That's
down
right.
right now.
That's right.
that's right, Chris.
Yeah,
That's what I tell people too.
the-
I told people a million times, man, who did you vote for? I didn't vote. Well, then shut up.
That's right.
You have no right.
So the other thing, aside from freedom of speech, I think, and I think you're right, and to have an informed consent or informed decision, I think, I think a big part of it too is you need to have skin in the game. You need to have the benefits of the American dream. You also need to have the consequences of bad choices. And I think right now, we don't portray a very good picture of either to the younger generation. I think, and when you do that, I think you foment disillusionment. I think you engender anger and distance from our founding principles, and I think you give ammo to your political opponents who could easily lie to all of these disaffected people because they don't have skin in the game, because the American dream is not realized for them, and because they're largely not held accountable for any poor decisions they've made. For instance, the whole debate going on about student loans and stuff like that. The debates going on about the my body, my choice, and those types of things, and about all of this type of stuff. And then at the same time, you're dealing with record high housing prices, and now interest rates are climbing. And so that window is closing on young couples, young families, single adults going to school. Schools never cost more money than it does now. Houses have never cost more money than they do now. And so you're creating, we're brewing trouble over the horizon here, to where anyone can walk along and say, I can make it better. I mean, that's exactly what has happened in Germany, and, the Weimar Republic collapsing. And then that's what's happened in China with Mao. And that's the same recipe over and over. You have discontent. I mean, if you look at it, even on the scriptural level, you look at the
communist
Book of Mormon
revolution in Russia, it was the same way. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you foment discontent and division, and then it's a persecutor versus persecuted, and then it's a political movement to seize power, to make people happy, to make things better, as it were. And I think that's part of the issue. I think you gotta get the government out of the way and to allow people to have skin in the game, and then realize success as well as defeat. And I think then you have you have America again. So
Absolutely. And so, yeah, that Rarely Popular had a good question here. What I don't understand, and so I'm asking, where do you draw the line from hate speech to freedom of speech? There's an actual, and she corrected it, meant to say law.
there are laws. Yeah.
So there are laws, yeah. And I have mixed feelings about all that. I remember back in the late 80s when people first started talking about hate crimes legislation. I was very much against it. I've always felt that the whole concept of hate crimes is a horrible idea. I'm very much against it. I always have been since the 80s. A crime is a crime. If you harm another person, whatever your motives, I don't think that your motives should play at that much of a difference in the way you're sentenced or the way the case is handled. And the hate speech now, there are laws, and obviously you can't there's things we can't say. You can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater. You can't publicly call for the execution of races of people or ethnicities or anything like that. But I think there's definitely a spectrum. And once again, Elon Musk, when he was being interviewed by Don Lemon, I don't know if anybody saw that. I have to admit I didn't see the whole interview, but I've seen some clips from it. And at one point, Elon Musk looked at Don Lemon and said, "So you're pro censorship?" And he
Yeah.
said, no, I'm
Right.
not.
Yeah.
I'm
Of course not.
free speech. I just think that, and he said something to the effect of, I just think there needs to be like some guardrails or something. We need to
Yeah.
and Elon just like chuckled. He said, "You want censorship so bad you can't stand it."
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was
Yeah.
dying. I was dying because the fact is, true freedom of speech means people have the freedom to say things that you don't like. It doesn't mean just freedom of speech for me or for the people that I agree with. If we're going to have true freedom of speech in the United States of America, it has to be free for everyone to be able to express their ideas. And if they express horrible ideas, they need to be held accountable for it.
So hate speech versus freedom of speech. Going back to Jordan Peterson, we've talked about this before. One of the biggest things that got him in hot water was his refusal to call someone by their preferred pronouns. Right? There's a
Well,
guy.
it's the
Go ahead.
refusal of being forced to call someone.
Right.
So
Yes.
he didn't have a problem on an individual level. He just did not agree at all with being forced to call someone anything. He said
Yeah,
that forced
okay.
speech was the problem.
Yeah,
That's
he
right.
made a good
So-
point. That was the first time that there's been limitations on speech, but there's never been a time in Western history in the United States or Canada where you were forced to have to say something.
So that, yeah. So, and if I'm understanding correctly, it may have been there and in other places where that if you did not, then that was a
Correct.
form of hate speech.
Yeah, that was Bill
Correct.
C-16 in Canada.
Right. Okay. Which
Yeah.
one was it?
C-16.
C-16 in Canada. That was a form
Not
of
to be
hate speech
confused.
if you weren't willing to do that,
Yeah.
or if you
Not
were
to-
going to call them by their non-preferred pronouns. Do what, Joe?
I was gonna say not to be confused with the U.S. military bill C4. Boom.
That's right.
Mm.
So is that's kind of that where do you draw the line, right?
Yeah.
Freedom of speech
Well-
versus hate speech.
Part of the problem is I think most people would agree with hate speech is a bad thing. It's a blight on society. It's poor form. It's bad taste. It's whatever, frowned upon, however you want to describe it. Most people say, yeah, it's kind of an uncouth thing to do. But I think in my mind, the bigger problem is how do you define hate speech and who gets to define it?
Who gets to define it?
That's the thing. That's the point
thing.
that Peterson makes. And that's the rub right there. That's the thing with when it comes to hate speech, who decides? And that makes
So
all the difference. Who is going to be the one to decide what is hate speech and what isn't? And that's
right.
where the problems come in.
So
I go
generally,
ahead.
yeah, generally in throughout societies, you have this whole degree of how societies operate, and you have things that are taboo, right? Things that you just don't say, you just don't talk about, or whatever. And there's all different degrees of things that are frowned upon versus things that um, you really are ushered out of polite society if you say them, and then all the way up to things that are codified. There are laws saying you cannot do that thing, right? And so that's generally how you operate. And things that you cannot reach a consensus on to say that is illegal. You cannot go and stab people in the neck because of whatever reason. That's
Yeah.
a law. But then you say, well, how far should you stand from someone when you're having a conversation? There's no law about that. There's certainly the close talkers, as Jerry Seinfeld had enlightened all of us on, and that's frowned upon, right? You're kind of shunned or whatever. And then there's other things that are more severe that you'd essentially be a pariah and no one talks to you, kick you out of town,
Oh,
You
yeah.
can't just go around, saying stuff. But that's generally how we operate. The problem now is there's things that are laws we're completely ignoring. And then there's things that are just unwritten rules of polite society that are now being used to destroy people over. So
Yeah.
it's kind of mixed
I
up.
think we've come a long way. I remember when I was a kid, I heard this a million times. I got so tired of hearing it, but they'd say, "Sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me." If a kid got upset about something somebody else said to him on the playground, that's what every teacher would say, every adult, every parent. Sticks and
At which
stones
point,
may break my bones, but words can never hurt me. So, but
at which
now,
point you cursed and said there's just words, right? And then you
yeah,
got hit with a
yeah,
stick or a stone for
exactly.
cursing.
Got the sticks and the stones at that point.
That's right.
But now, yeah, we've come to the opposite end of the spectrum where words are violence.
Yeah.
We're just saying certain words
And
is
and
considered
violence is
as
sometimes
bad
free
as physical
speech.
assault. Yeah.
And sometimes violence is free speech. If you're
Yeah,
you're
freedom of expression, right?
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, freedom of
Yeah.
expression is it's the same thing with the abortion. I wish they would apply that same argument whenever they say, given the woman has the right, is her body, her choice, right?
Mhm.
Well, let's apply that to absolutely everything else. Okay, from vaccinations to everything you can
True.
think of. But they
I thought you were going to say you apply the same logic to the husband, because if you apply the same logic there, then no man should ever be forced to pay child support because it's his choice whether he wants the child
Yeah.
or not.
that's my
Right?
point.
Yeah, it's the same argument. It's the same. Yeah.
That's exactly my point. Yeah, they're very selective on their arguments, and that's where liberals oftentimes, in my view, my humble opinion, they fall short in defending their arguments because they can apply an argument to one situation, but then you can try and take that same principle and apply it somewhere else, and it falls apart.
That is the
Mm.
thing I've said a million times, that my biggest complaint with liberal leftist ideology is that it doesn't, the people that subscribe to those points of view don't follow the train of logic to its final destination. If you think it through, if you take an idea like you're talking about right now, you say my body, my choice. Okay. Think it through. Like what does that, if you apply this to other situations, how would that affect things? And as you go, you realize at a certain point that that's a ridiculous argument, because if you follow that train of logic all the way to its final destination, you come up with a bunch of nonsense. You come up with chaos.
Yeah.
And hold on, I wanted to recognize. Hold on. I wanted to say, this right here. Bruce K. Before we move past this, I wanted to recognize Bruce, your comment. I love what the church has been doing here in Atlanta for the Black communities. A large percentage of the Black communities love God, and the church has a great relationship with Morehouse College. Yeah, I've seen.
That's where the Tabernacle Choir
Yes, at
center.
Morehouse College. That
Morehouse
was
College.
Flyer from Temple Square.
That's right. Yeah.
absolutely beautiful. That was that whole performance gave me chills, man, from beginning to end. I loved it. Great stuff.
Yeah, President Nelson has become really involved with the Black community and everything, and
Really
he's
close. Yeah,
got,
they've got a close partnership with
Yes,
Morehouse
with
College.
the- Well, he's got some pretty good friendships with some members, some like higher up members of the NAACP. I think he's had several different things with them.
yeah.
So, yeah.
And speaking of election coverage 2024, Trump also has had great relationships with the Black communities over the years. But as soon as he decided to run for office, all of a sudden he became a racist, according to many people. One of the things that they tried to pin on him, right? But they can never prove that. And there's been many in the Black community that have come out in support of him and given many examples to show that he's not.
Yeah, there's the have you seen the video of the guy that was founder or one of the main founders of the Black Panther Party?
Mm-mm.
That is
But I saw Forrest Gump.
You saw Forrest Gump.
Yeah. So I know a little bit about it. So, I'm sorry I messed up your Black Panther Party.
Oh my goodness gracious! I'm gonna have to find that now. I'm gonna have to find it because I don't know what I did with it and where it went.
215 to 179 is the current count. 215 Trump, 179 Harris. California with the stall for Harris.
Oh yeah, that doesn't surprise me. How many votes is electoral college votes is California?
54.
Oh yeah, that's a lot.
Okay,
54? Yeah, I was a little bit nervous about that earlier with California because California has a lot.
Yeah, over Georgia again. Let's look at our swing states again real quick. Still 88%. That's the same. Hey, is your is that refreshed? I guess it is. Yeah.
Looks like Maine is turning bluer though.
Yeah,
that was to be expected. Yeah.
Well, which is always a surprise to me because Maine is a very rural state. And like New Hampshire is the live free or die state, and then they tend to be very leftist.
Isn't that right?
Check Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Arizona. Pennsylvania
72% reporting, 51.3 for Trump, 47.7 for Kamala.
Yep.
Would you say Arizona?
Michigan's turning redder.
Oh, Arizona's closed now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's real. Wow. It's a razor.
Ooh. That was one that was really close in 2020 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how about Nevada?
Wait, where that? There we go.
There you go.
No, nothing yet from Nevada.
Of course. Michigan is turning redder though. Have you noticed? It was blue the last time we looked, but now it's turning redder.
30% reporting.
Yep. So we'll see.
Wisconsin
and Minnesota both are as well. Did they call Indiana or Illinois? I mean, I guess that would be blue, wouldn't it? Yep. Illinois is blue, Indiana red. I thought they already called North Carolina. No.
Apparently not.
Did they uncall it?
I don't know. I thought it was
I thought they called it right about the time we were starting this.
I guess not.
Which one you asking about?
North Carolina.
Right now we've got 88% reporting, 50.8% for Trump. So it's close there too.
They that was from the Glenn Beck's live that I'm listening to, and they actually said that they're calling them slower than a lot of outlets out there.
What do y'all think about the Electoral College in general? That's something I've noticed. It seems to come up every other election, maybe every election now, to where it seems that the more left you lean, the less you like the Electoral College?
Yeah, I actually for a while I was kind of on that boat because my impression was that the Electoral College was something that was necessary at the time.
Yeah, antiquated. Yeah.
With the technology we have, it's outdated. But the thing is, we could all vote instantly, just the way millions of people vote on American Idol or America's Got Talent or whatever, those kind of shows. But the Electoral College actually was pretty genius. It wasn't just a fluke or a workaround to try to be able to make things work. It really balances out the power of the states, because if there was no Electoral College, the very liberal states like California would dominate, and this other states that are smaller that have less, had less of a voice would not matter at all. So it wouldn't be. I think the Electoral College, the way we have it now, it's not perfect, but it's probably as close as we can get to having a fair election process where everybody's voice is heard, from the individual to the county to the state.
And I still have, and this is me just being maybe just kind of sheltered and naive a little bit or whatever, but I really have a hard time people vote that way. That more people in this country lean left than lean right. I just do. I have a hard time seeing that and understanding that. I don't understand it. But it would be great to be able to not only get the Electoral College vote this time, which is obviously what we have to have,
and the popular vote.
but the popular vote, and there's no argument then, right?
Yeah,
absolutely no argument.
Yeah, because there have been several times where they were different, where one candidate won the Electoral College, but the other one actually won the popular vote.
Yeah, I think that was the case with Hillary Clinton and Trump.
Yeah.
She got the popular vote, and again, I do not understand that. But
that really blew my mind, because when I first heard that Hillary Clinton was going to be running for president, I thought it was a joke. I literally laughed out loud when somebody said it. I was like, yeah, right. Like anybody in their right mind would vote for Hillary Clinton to be president of the United States, but people did, and I couldn't wrap my brain around it, man. Like, Hillary Clinton, she's already, like Trump, we've seen a Trump administration before. We know what Trump can do. We know what he's capable of. And even though Hillary had not been president, she had been in the White House for 8 years, and she clearly had aspirations for political power. And had been senator. Her husband put her in charge of so many different things. And every single thing he put her in charge of, she failed miserably. So I don't know. I don't know what made any thinking human being think that she could have made a good president. That just, I didn't get it.
But before we move off this Electoral College and popular vote, so do you think that is something that's in the past? Is that something that we need?
I definitely
continue to help get it right.
Yeah, I definitely think it's something that we need. Again, going back to if you go back to the founding documents, and even afterwards, even going to Democracy in America, Alexis de Tocqueville, I think it makes it pretty plainly clear that having a direct democracy is a bad idea. That almost always immediately precedes tyrannical rule. So having so many people just voting whimsically at the moment what they want, and 51% takes all, is a bad way to go.
Well, I've always liked the analogy that true democracy is 3 wolves and 1 sheep voting on what to have for dinner.
That's right. And if you're interested, there's a lady named Tara Ross on Facebook. She does like one of those on this day in history type posts and stuff. And she spends a lot of time. She's written some books on the Electoral College, and why it's necessary, even today, even with it's not antiquated. It's not something they did because they didn't have an alternative. It was very specifically set up that way as part of the foundation of this country. She's done some of those PragerU, the Dennis Prager kind of things.
Yeah,
The
like
little
PragerU,
the little short video deals. Was talking about it too, so you can get a good understanding of what it is, how it works, and why we need it. But I would venture to say that if this country doesn't have it, as geographically large as it is and as demographically different as it is, I don't think it would stay together for long if you didn't. It's just too much. You've got blue, red, and you're telling me that people would be content with saying, that everyone gets a vote and whoever gets the 51% first, that's who wins. And not only that, but if you think you have problems now with accusations of fraud, wait until it doesn't matter where you live. We're just taking a 51% winner take all. It doesn't matter where the votes come from. Well, guess what? The votes will be coming from everywhere and nowhere pretty quickly, I'm afraid.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah,
What
I think the solvency of this nation, depends on it, because I think if you have just a popular vote, pretty quickly people say, well, that vote doesn't represent me or the state next to me or the other state next to me. We're out.
Yeah, I would like to get my hands on that and look into that more, because I understand the Electoral College. I understand why it's there.
Yeah.
But to really, I'd like to have an even deeper understanding, to where I could turn around and thoroughly explain to someone why we need the Electoral College over relying upon a popular vote. What was her name again?
Tara Ross.
Tara Ross.
Yeah.
Ross.
TARAROSS.
Yeah.
I'll send you guys a quick link.
So Rarely Popular said, I chose my name Rarely Popular because President Nelson said that we were rarely popular as Latter-day Saints. And in one of his talks, huge light bulb went off. Rarely Popular was born.
There you go.
Very good. We just kind of put ours together. We live in the South and we're Latter-day Saints. And we said, you know what? Let's Saints.
Some alliteration.
South. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well,
I'm really bothered now that you were trying to find that quote. I'm really trying to find that video. Because, it's interesting. It's the thing is that there's so many, that video angered so
the Black
many
Panther
people that the video was actually removed. It's hard to find it now. And if you Google it, there's lots and lots of videos that are basically rebuttals of basically saying like, no, he never said that. But in the interview, if I can find it, he very clearly, this old man, there's a woman interviewing him, and he said he had extensive experience with Donald Trump in the 70s. He called Donald Trump a decent man. He said,
he got lending and stuff from Donald Trump.
Yes.
Is this the guy?
Yeah. He said Trump gave him money. Trump donated money to the Black Panthers.
Yeah. The bank said, no way, Jose. And he talked to Donald Trump and got a fair shake out of it and stuff.
That's right.
That gets touchy too, because the Black Panther and other organizations at the time, some of them were
kind of violent.
I don't know. Yeah. Some of them are fairly responsible, community building and independent living kind of mindset and kind of lift yourself up by the bootstraps, while other ones took more of a militant, oppositional kind of standpoint when it came to the nation and all. So like everything else, I guess
party was a more of an extreme reaction to the racial injustice. And there's a whole, I think the dichotomy was interesting between, like, say, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. And if Martin Luther, it would have been interesting to see how things went if Martin Luther King Jr. had lived longer, because they initially were very much at odds with each other. They were complete polar opposites. You know, they were
Mhm.
Malcolm X is all about, well, we gonna take it by force, and you know, we've
Mhm.
been done wrong. We need to do whatever we got to do to make things right for the black man in this country. And you know, if we gotta break a few eggs or whatever, you know, whereas Martin Luther King Jr. was, you know, obviously a devout Christian and a pastor, and he was like, no, 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 no. We need to get along. We need to learn to see each other as brothers, regardless of the color of
Yeah.
our skin. But as time went on, it was interesting that those two men had talked. I know they spoke several times and
Mhm.
were starting to come a little bit closer together to each other in their views. I think as far as more of a compromise, I think Malcolm X, after talking to Martin Luther King Jr. a few times, it started to be a little less radical. And even Martin Luther King Jr., I've heard accounts say he might have been a little bit more kind of proactive than he had been initially.
Mhm. Yeah, it's always neat to look back at histories and stuff to see how people grow and develop and change, you know, and it's odd. I mean, you see it happening in real time today, where someone takes a quote out of context and they try to paint the picture for them, rather than, you know, really see contextually what was going on. You see the same thing looking through histories and stuff, to where you find out, well, that quote was from, you know, his first year on the protest trail, you know, and so that's different though than the quote 2 weeks before he died or was murdered, and in both of their cases, you know. So it is fascinating to see how people grow and change. I
Yeah.
mean, I think the same thing with Abraham Lincoln, reading about him and just how he had grown and changed too, and stuff. So
Yeah. Lincoln is a very interesting character. He's,
mm,
I, I don't think anybody really knows the true Abraham Lincoln, because you know he's looked at as, depending on who you are, as like a, what is that, there's the halo effect, they call it, you know, in
mhm,
psychology, where you just, so many people see Abraham Lincoln just like with a halo, like he was so perfect. Abraham Lincoln was very flawed. He was a very flawed man.
yeah,
He was imperfect. You know, there's in Mexico, when Megan and I were in Tijuana, Mexico, we were walking through the town. There's an intersection that has a large statue of Abraham Lincoln. And when I say large, I mean this thing's probably 20 feet tall. It is
dang.
huge. Like
So
when you
life
walk
size.
up, yeah, what is life size? Yeah, when you walk up to the statue, you come like to Abraham Lincoln's knees, like it's so tall. But
Mm,
it's cool because the statue is a statue of Abraham Lincoln standing in his, you know, traditional stovepipe hat, whatever you call it, with
mhm,
chains. He has shackles around both wrists with broken chains hanging from his wrists. You know, he's
mm,
standing there with his fists clenched, you know, and his arms bent, and the broken chains, you know, symbolic of him breaking the chains of slavery. And it's really it's cool because, yeah, Abraham Lincoln does get credit for that because he was the right person at the right time. However,
mhm,
um he was more of a moderate. He was definitely not a, you know, uh, extremist kind of abolitionist. As a matter of
mhm,
fact, when the Civil War started, he was quoted as saying that if he could keep the Union together without freeing a single slave, he would do it.
mhm,
So his focus was more on preserving the Union. It's like, okay, so these states have broken off, and
mhm,
really, I mean, I think was wisdom that to recognize that those two countries, the Confederacy and the United States, would never ever, neither one would ever be as strong as they would be together. You know, they would have never, I don't think either one of them would ever become a world
Right.
superpower that the United States eventually did become.
mhm.
Yeah, with all the. Hey, I'm gonna share some. I'm gonna share this again real quick. See what.
It's not up
And
on
they
the screen.
did just call
just say she?
Dang it, it's not coming up.
Yeah. Okay. Oh,
They done
Here we
figured
go.
you out.
Here we go. Oh, here we go. Yeah.
Mhm.
No, not that. No. But also, if you look at Montana, he's up by 25. Trump's up by 25 or 29. So, Tester is going to outperform, the Democrat.
Talking about the Senate.
Montana, there was never any doubt about that. That split is
Mhm.
important, though. But look, the Senate looks pretty good. Probably still blowable, but it would be really hard to do it. And I think that's where we are with Trump now. I mean, it's theoretically possible he could lose all three of these blue wall states.
right.
But man, he's the heavy favorite in at least two of them, I'd say. And he may win all three. And I will say this, let me throw one more out there. To debate right now is Minnesota. I think you have to look at Minnesota as a state that Donald Trump might pick up. Now, I don't.
Right.
I wouldn't say I guarantee. I think that is into the toss-up category.
That would be, I mean, that is just pudding with my ice cream. That is just fantastic.
But I thought
Who eats pudding with ice cream?
Apparently,
is what I want more than anything. Honestly, what I really wanted is Donald Trump to win only because he won Minnesota. I wanted him to just be over 270 just so we could blame Tim Walz for the loss. But him losing his home state
that would be crazy.
is delicious.
Oh,
Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be
Yeah. Tim
good.
Walz losing.
that's crazy.
But if you think about it, think of all the issues Minnesota's been dealing with recently,
Right.
and many of those brought on by the governor Walz, and so it wouldn't surprise me, that you tend to get people unified when you're making it more difficult for a lot of people.
Kamala Harris has only 12 remaining.
We'll watch this clip right here real quick, and then we'll go back.
Hmm.
For Donald Trump and 191 for Kamala Harris, 116 to go here. But again, a lot of these states looking pretty positive for Donald Trump. And even though a couple of those fringy states, those states that were reach swing states like Minnesota, looking interesting. It doesn't look like he's going to get there in Virginia. It doesn't look like he's going to get there in New Hampshire or Maine, even though those states might be a little bit closer than people expected. But Minnesota is at least in the picture at this point.
You don't think New Hampshire is?
I don't think he's going to get there in New Hampshire.
It's going to be razor close.
Doesn't New Hampshire have the split delegates though?
Pennsylvania was 75% reported.
Yeah, I don't know.
This is going to be overtime.
That is fantastic.
Steve Day says it's going to be over tonight. That'd be awesome. Back the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
No, I wouldn't either.
That would be good. Maybe, you know what, they might have got rid of it because I know they didn't like it the last time when Trump won on the Electoral College but did not win the popular vote. I know several of the states were talking about changing their legislation to where they would no longer be apportioned on their Electoral College votes. It would just be all one or the other. They'd have to go with the popular vote.
Right.
So there was like 2 or 3 states that seemed like had the apportioned electoral votes.
Man, oh man, big night tonight. I'm used to going to bed knowing who the next president is, and hopefully we can be back to that this year.
Oh.
And stuff, so.
I was going to say, you mentioned Lincoln, and him starting off that way, and that was one of the things I thought was really, really fascinating with his life and his trajectory, his arc, and how things went. That book, definitely, if you have any interest in Lincoln, read it. That Team of Rivals. It's actually the book they used for the Spielberg movie Lincoln. It won a bunch of awards and stuff. Daniel Day-Lewis plays Abraham Lincoln. Sally Fields plays his wife.
Sounds
It's
interesting.
very well done. But there's a story about kind of that growth, that process of him going from the very much not wanting to get involved with the slavery issue. He had personal feelings on it, but felt like he didn't want to force that on the country, that somebody needs to deal with it, but not him. And he thought it was much more preferential to keep the Union together rather than tackle that issue. But then his thoughts evolved on that over time. But I'm trying to remember who it was that kind of had made this claim that the nurse sent to them when their son died their other son was sick and actually touch and go for a while there. So a nurse was sent to help. And I'm trying to remember her last name, starts with a P. Can't remember the name of her name now, but anyway, that she was a great help, especially to Mrs. Lincoln. She'd already had kind of some I don't know if you call it mental health issues or whatever, but clearly losing your child, and the other one is hanging on by a thread while your husband's the president of the United States during a civil war. I mean, there's a lot going on there, right? A lot to deal with. And so this nurse is there helping out, and was particularly great help to Mrs. Lincoln. But at one point, they'd gotten to know her pretty well and found out that she had lost her husband, and I want to say lost one or two of her sons in the war. And she was just this cheery, bright ray of sunshine in their life during kind of their darkest days. And Lincoln had asked her, how do you do it? How do you kind of stay so positive and deal with all this? And then she basically bore her testimony to him that it was because of God and her relationship with God. And he kind of made the comment that he wished he knew him like that. And then she invited him to start praying more and becoming a more religious person personally, that rather than just the knowledge wise. And apparently he had begun praying again after that. And right around that time is when things really started shifting, and his ideas and the way he spoke to his cabinet started shifting. And he basically had said that his viewpoint was that the Civil War was punishment, that all this death and destruction was punishment, because we should have dealt with this much sooner, this issue. And so I think this sanguinary conflict, I think, is how he described it. And that's why he pushed his cabinet for the amendments, that he started the Emancipation Proclamation. Matter of fact, that was the way that they had said it was right around that time. She had told him that, and he prayed. Right at that time is when they found the orders at Antietam, the Confederate orders of battle movement at Antietam, and allowed them a massive shift in the military conflict. And then that opened the doorway for the Emancipation Proclamation. And then that opened the doorway, I mean, just on and on and on. And it stemmed supposedly from this interaction with this nurse and about prayer.
Wow.
So anyway, it was kind of an interesting and fascinating story.
It's just an example of being willing to, I mean, she was prompted, right?
Yeah.
It'll Bednar's thoughts. If you have a good thought, move forward with it. And that prompted, caused him to move forward. So go ahead.
No, I think, matter of fact, I think it was Glenn Beck that was interviewing someone who'd written a book about it, and it was, and that's what they were talking about, this whole thing. But anyway, it changed his Lincoln's kind of outlook on it, and made him a more vocal advocate from the White House, not just a personal advocate that slavery is wrong and stuff, but to the point where foundationally as a country we've got to come to terms with this and fix it, not just temporarily, not just for purposes of the war, but for humanity. We've got to get this right. And so it is interesting and fascinating to see the growth, to see the change, and the hows and the whys. That's really what makes it so interesting. But
yeah,
anyway,
even the Emancipation Proclamation is interesting to me because
mm-hmm.
it's really a work of political genius.
Mm-hmm.
Because most people don't realize that the Emancipation Proclamation did not actually free a single slave. People think that was the thing that freed the slaves in the South, but the South had already legally seceded and become their own country. That would be like, the prime minister of Canada,
right,
telling the U.S. what to do or something. It's just like nothing. But what it did do was the Confederacy was on the verge of winning the Civil War, because the Confederacy had already petitioned England, Spain, and France, And all the European countries were saying, dude, they're doing the exact same thing. Like, especially England. England was like, they're doing the exact same thing that you did to us. The exact same thing. So, no, we're going to help them. So all the European countries were poised to enter the war fighting on behalf of the Confederacy.
Right.
But when Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, that shifted
Changed
the
it.
focus of the war to where now the European countries, they're like, ooh, if we enter the war now, it's going to make it look like we're trying to fight to preserve slavery.
Right.
So what the Emancipation Proclamation did was prevent the European countries from entering the war, because it would have been really bad optics for them.
Yep.
Because they had already, I think most of them had already outlawed, or at least, criminalized, slavery to some extent. So
That's
they
right.
were already, slavery was already on the way out in Europe as well. And they're like, wait a minute, we don't want to look like we're fighting so y'all can have slaves. So
Right.
it's pretty genius, actually. And I found that video. I'd like to share it.
Oh, there we go.
I'm gonna feel a whole lot better. Hold on. Okay. Hey, let's see here. Whoa.
My name is David Hilliard, founding member of the Black Panther Party. I knew Trump when Trump was a college student in New York, and he supported the Black Panther Party. That's how I know Trump.
What kind of person do you think Donald Trump is?
Trump is a person who's a decent man, and he supported the Black Panther Party. That's what I just mentioned to you. He was someone who gave us money, and Trump was a decent guy. I knew Trump from the 1960s in New York, where he comes from, and he's a friend to African Americans.
Oh, and now when you say a friend to African American, what do you mean by friend?
I mean he's not a racist. He's not a
There
racist.
you go.
White man. He supported black. Trump is qualified and a very decent approach to having somebody representing America. Trump.
Yeah, I agree with you.
My name is David Hill.
And there's example after example after example like that. So,
yeah, that video there is, a lot of people didn't like that. A lot of people got up in arms about that.
yeah.
Racism, being called racist, that label is difficult because it's one of those, in many ways, it's one of those intangibles. I mean, I think you can point to easy examples to say, well, definitely that's racist, or that person's acting racist, or whatever. But the real issue is there's so many ways that it just can't be. It cannot be fully defended ever. Like, someone can say it, and then you're left saying, well, no, I'm not. And they say, well, yes, you are. And you go, well,
racism is the new
okay.
McCarthyism.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, is that racism is exactly the same thing as McCarthyism. Under McCarthyism, when we were trying to root out communism and communists from the country, it didn't matter if you were ever, if you despised communism and you never had anything to do with it. All it took was for somebody to accuse you of being a communist, and your career was over.
Right, because you can never fully prove your innocence, because it's just one of those things. It's like, it reminds me of the old history books about the witch trials, right? Where they put you in the river, and if you sank, then you're
if you float, you're a witch. But if you sank,
right.
you won't. But then if you sank,
that's
it.
it. That's right.
So you died either way.
If you float, you're a witch, so they have to kill you, and if you sink, then you're not. But you're dead. So
I think if I remember, they would like tie you. The thing was to tie them to a wagon wheel and throw them in the river. And if they floated, if they were able to stay above the surface of the water while tied to a wagon wheel, they were a witch, and they would be burned at the stake.
All I can remember now is
they were innocent.
Monty Python, the Monty Pythons, yeah. But what else floats on water? Ducks. Yeah. So anyway, that's how that goes.
Hey, pull up your map again. They're reporting a little more on the Georgia,
All right.
Yeah, 91. What I'm pulling up on the AP here,
91%.
it says 91%. See if Kenny's map shows the same thing.
Is it showing right now?
Yeah, it's showing.
It's updated 230 to 205 now. It's narrowed
Yep.
a bit.
Yeah, so hover over Georgia there. Yeah, 91%.
91%, 51 to 48.3. The percentages stayed about the same. It's just more of it's been reported now.
That's right. Yeah.
Pretty solid. Georgia's looking pretty good right now.
And go to Pennsylvania. That's the big one. 81%.
Yep.
And that's an even larger gap.
Yeah, it is.
think so.
Yeah, 51.4% for Trump.
With
47%.
81%. Yeah.
I tell you what, who else needs some, I don't, clearly not a cabinet position or whatever, but definitely needs some credit is Scott Pressler, the long-haired tall guy who's been literally on the ground in Pennsylvania for Trump, the Trump campaign. I know, the last election it was this way, and I think they left the person in charge, the Republican, the RNC or whatever, I think it was a lady, and she just basically just sat on her hands the whole time. And this Pressler guy has just been going out knocking doors and going on to college campuses and registering people left and right, like big social media presence. He responds to questions. He does interviews and stuff like that. Like he needs to be, I think, in charge of the RNC.
Yep. That's kind of how we started this little coverage out, was thanking everybody that's involved, boots on the ground.
Yeah.
And just really, really being involved. That's what it takes. It's what it takes. The Democrats have had that figured out for a while. I think they're boots on the ground. They're soldiers, so to speak. They've done a much better job with all of that than we
very
have.
much activist minded. Yeah.
They very, very activist minded. And I'll be the first to admit that a lot of times I'm just focused on making money and raising my family.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's the thing. That's the way most Republicans are, I think, because most Republicans are just normal working class people that, have a life and a career.
Yeah, I'm not hopping on a bus somewhere to get shipped somewhere to go protest something. I don't have time for that.
Right.
So, and again, that's why, getting back to I'm trying to figure out, and that's one of the reasons that we're starting to do a little bit more of this on this channel here, because I don't think okay. So yes, there is a separation of government and state, or no, church and state, separation of church and state. Right. But in reality, I don't think the people can do that. I think it has to be church and state. It's what the founding fathers used. They were heavy Bible readers. They were heavy Christians in forming the principles and the foundation of this country. And the further we get away from those things, we see the results. And so it takes us being involved, talking about these things. And we're just a small little channel, right? In comparison to all the other channels and broadcasts, the Glenn Becks and all that. But it takes the boots on the ground to add our voice out there.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
everybody gone to bed yet? Is anybody still watching?
We've actually I think we've got 13 now, which is the highest number of viewers we've had so far. So
no. We had 26 at one time.
Oh, was it? I wasn't even looking. I missed it.
Yeah. It shoot, it's up to 15 right now, man.
There you go.
Yeah, we should have. And yeah, if we had even planned this ahead of time, this was kind of a last minute. Maybe we'll do it. Maybe we won't.
Yeah.
So,
but
for just kind of hopping on at the last minute live, I think we're doing pretty good.
That's right.
Got some good feedback from some folks in the comments and all here. I'm liking that.
What you got for comments or questions?
We haven't had any recently.
Okay.
Unless we were just kind of watching, but yeah, I don't know how much longer y'all want to go with this, but I don't know if y'all have any close.
That's a good one.
That's right. Well, if y'all have any kind of closing thoughts or closing predictions of any kind.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get any sleep tonight or not. It's I mean, it's pretty sure, but it's not in the bag yet. Whereas, so
yeah, I'm not, I like what I'm feeling, but I'm not anywhere of, hanging my hat up saying, yeah, we got this one, for sure. Not anywhere near that.
Yeah, because you have those slim chances of these statistical anomalies. Like last go around, you go to bed looking one way and wake up with a different.
Yeah.
But again, I think there are people that the Republican Party has set up this go around where people aren't going to bed. Those people, they're watching, they're looking, and if anything funny shows up, they're jumping on it. They're jumping on it. So I do feel much better about that.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that Michael was wrong in his prediction.
What was his prediction? That's Rogue Bishop that we're talking about.
Being a long drawn out contested and getting courts
Bishop
involved.
Anticipated this to end up being long and drawn out,
Right.
and being a battle that would end up going as high as the Supreme Court.
Yeah, I kind of agreed with him. I had kind of the same thoughts, but I do believe that there's the divine intervention some way. Whether that divine intervention is as simple as what people have learned over the last 4 years, and the promptings to get involved more, the promptings to change side, change their point of view. Even if it's that, I do believe that the Lord is having his hand in this somehow, some way. You know, what do y'all think about the Trump assassination attempts, especially the first one? I mean, milliseconds of turning his head from being dead.
Yep.
I mean, is that divine intervention?
Yeah,
just telling my kids the other night, it came up and I said, you know what's weird? I had forgotten about it for a little while or not really thought much on it. But then I said, you know what's weird is we still have not heard, or I have not heard anything more about it. I mean, don't know the background of that person, don't know the motivations behind that person, don't know any social media. I mean, the last I heard, it was a completely blank slate. It just some person woke up one day and all of a sudden knew, you know, how to make the shot, how to get in the spot, and how to have a bomb wired up to their car with remote detonation capabilities. And that's it. Like nothing about the parents, nothing. Just, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. They kept that on the down low, the hush hush.
Mm-hmm.
And in this day and age, when everything is, when anything and everything can be shared and the details can be shared, and they do that when it fits the main, the big media agenda,
right?
The deep state agenda, they get it out there immediately, right?
That's right.
So yeah, it's interesting how those things go. Kind of like the JFK assassination. You know, we still don't know to this day the details of that.
Trump says he's going to release everything he can if he gets in office. He told RFK that.
Yeah.
He's going to release absolutely everything.
That's what he said. We'll see what happens though, because I think Trump has good intentions, but he's facing I think he's facing a lot larger dragon than he thinks. Even
when you talk about specifically when it comes to that, or are you talking about
everything with the deep state? Because that all that kind of classified stuff that goes so deep. There's
Yeah.
There's people that, yeah,
And again, I think he's a lot more prepared this time as well. You know,
definitely.
thankfully. So
Definitely. So yeah, he might do it though. I mean, Trump is definitely, if anybody is enough of a loose cannon to do it, he's the one.
I think he is the one to do it. And I think it can be done. I think it's extremely hard to do, but I do believe it can be done. And just think about the life that he was living and the life that he could be living and going off into his golden years, retirement.
Yeah.
I mean, perfectly set up. Turn his business over to his family and
could
go
be living
play
the
golf
dream
at
right now,
Mar-a-Lago
just-
every
Yep.
weekend.
Mhm.
I mean, and and especially after he lost, he could have said, listen, I did my part. I gave it my best, served 4 years. We got beat this last time. I'm getting older.
Out. Yeah.
I'm out. Right. And I don't think anybody would blame him for doing that.
I think Trump though is a lot like Elon Musk. Elon Musk is interesting to me because even though is he now the richest? He's one of, if not the richest human being, man on earth. But nothing that he does is
I'm
done
not in
with
that running.
the goal of making money. What'd you say?
Yeah. I said I'm not in that running.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah. So the
even-
thing,
e-
yeah,
e-
Elon
even getting
has
to Mars.
larger goals in mind. The making money is just a side. It's just a consequence of the things that he does. You know, he just happens to make bukudoodles of money, but his motivation.
Not his
is
motivation. That's right.
far bigger than that. And I think Trump is the same way. I think his motivations are far bigger than just making a name for himself, or even if a portion of it is satisfying his ego. I still think
Right.
he does have larger goals in mind. Like if you look back, I've seen so many videos of clips of him throughout the 40 years of him talking about how the United States is involved in all these bad trade deals and how, you know, the government is screwing people over and on and on and on and on and on. And finally he's at a point in his life where he's like, okay, this is my chance to fix it. Nobody else is fixing it. You know, I've been complaining about this stuff, and he has been proactive. You know, he's tried to push things. He's tried to use his money and his influence to try to push things and straighten things out. But I really think at this point he feels, called, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. Yeah. And he says even more so since the assassination attempt.
Yeah.
And he said, I've seen clips early on in his life when he's basically said, I hope I don't have to be the one. I hope I don't have to run for office.
Yeah.
You know,
he was hoping somebody else would have done it by now, but nobody
Right.
has.
Yeah. And he called it. He said early on, I'm sure y'all seen the clip where he says that being in politics, it's a very mean business to be in.
Mhm.
Right. It's a very nasty business to be in. And man, he called that, man.
I think, you know, I think my theory is that is why he kind of took on the persona that he did, because Trump has always been super nice guy, happy go lucky, you know, blah, 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 whatever, you know, but when he started running for president, he got mean. And I personally, I think he did that because in his mind, he believed that politics is because he said that before. Yeah, I've seen multiple clips where he's talked about how he would never be interested in politics because politics is such a mean business, and you can't be you got to be mean to be in politics. So I think in his mind, the only way to succeed in politics is to be mean, and so I think he created the Donald Trump that we knew as president as a different character, basically, like that he took on a persona of this mean, nasty guy because I think he felt like that's what had to be done. That, you know, and Trump has always been a person that makes goals and has reached his goals because he has done whatever was necessary to reach his goals.
It takes a special kind of person to do stuff like that. Him and Elon, and it's find out what you're made of when you.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yep. And then not many people could do it.
No.
And yeah,
And
he
to have-
another thing is he's one of those people. Have you ever heard of the term short sleeper? People who are short sleepers. So he is one of those people that there are some people. I know a friend of mine has an uncle like this that sleeps 4 hours a night, and that's all he needs.
Right.
So he is able to be twice as productive as most people, because most people like me, if I don't get a solid 7 or 8 hours, I'm not going to be at my best.
You ain't
Whereas
gonna be at your best tomorrow.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to be worth anything tomorrow.
No,
it's going to be horrible.
Nobody will be.
Uh-uh.
Everybody's staying up late.
Hey, let me share this right here.
Okay.
This is entertaining right here. Okay.
What you got?
All right, here we go.
I have a petition. We want to rename the George Washington Monument.
Oh yeah.
Channel playlist of 2024 campaign ads. Hey, white dudes. So I think we're all pretty sick of hearing how much we suck. Every time you go online, it's the same story. We're the problem. And yeah, some white dudes are. Trump and all his MAGA buddies are out there making it worse, shouting nonsense in their stupid red hats and acting like they speak for us when they don't. All they've ever done is screw us over. But if you're not on the MAGA train, where do you go? Isn't it just swapping out one crappy option for another? Then it hit me. This isn't about picking teams. It's about who's got a plan that's going to make life better for me and my family. So I've been doing my own research and decided to check out Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And before you jump down my throat, they're actually talking to guys like us. No lectures, no BS. Just real solutions that protect our freedoms and help us take care of the people. And honestly, I think Harris and Walz are the ones to make that. At the end of the day, you're your own man. It's your call. But if anyone gives you crap about it, tell them it's none of their damn business.
Crazy, right?
Wow, that's the
Have you seen that yet?
I'd seen it, yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask y'all this. Do you have kind of your favorite policy that Trump is running on? And maybe a policy that Harris is running on that if there is one you like or one you don't like.
For Trump, it's hard to say which one would impact me most directly, but I would say getting the border under control is probably my favorite, because I think it's an existential risk to our political system. And I think it's a risk to so many lives, both directly that we know about, transparently directly, meaning like Laken Riley up at University of Georgia that was murdered by an illegal immigrant, and many others that have similarly been just brutally assaulted or murdered without much as far as punishment goes and stuff. The illegal immigrants who'd beaten those police in New York City and were immediately released. That blows my mind. The ones that were flipping off the cameras and stuff like that, and then they're detained and immediately released or whatever. That's insane. So that's transparently directly a threat to the people in our communities. But also less transparent is all the problems that they tried to roast Trump over with kids in cages. You remember that? And it was like 50 kids or 100 kids were essentially lost to follow up. They were sent to be with family until their arraignment for their asylum cases or whatever, and then they didn't show up. So now
my
they got to
favorite
find
part
them.
of that
They're not sure where they are.
My favorite part of the whole thing, though, was the video footage they showed. What
Right.
was filmed during the Obama administration, and
That's
tried
right.
to pin that on Trump, try to make it look like this is
Sure.
what Trump is doing. No, that's what Obama was doing.
But then so now you fast forward the people who are, you know, clutching their pearls and just, you know, losing it over this to now. Where are they at? There are literally hundreds of thousands of kids who are now missing. Not 100 like it was with Trump, on a program that was started before his time in office, with pictures taken before his time in office, when they were losing their minds over it and wanted him impeached over that. There are hundreds of thousands now, and they're MIA.
More than likely,
All of a
sold
sudden, it
into-
doesn't matter. Yeah, and so now
some kind of
you look at
slavery
all
or,
the
you know, sex trade or something like that. Yeah.
correct. So now you look at all those damages and stuff. So I think for me that, I mean, there's a bunch that are high on the list, but for me, I think you're doing the most good for the most people. And it's weird how we're always, I say we, those of a conservative mindset are on defense with this. Oh, you're against immigrants. And we say, no, we're not really. But I don't know why we're not on offense and say you're against immigrants. Because all the people standing in line to immigrate here, you're advocating for them to be cut off, to be pushed back, for them to be, you know, kept out of this country, because now you are favoring those who are entering this country illegally. You're actively choosing the illegal immigrants over the legal immigrants. So it's you who are against immigration. You're against legal immigration. We're for it.
I think
So-
it's personally, I think that's not a glitch of the system, but the design, because they
Right.
want to create chaos.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no
The
doubt.
more they create chaos, the more that they are able to benefit from it.
The Trump
It's
policy
called
that
Hegelian dialect, right?
yeah,
What?
I don't know.
It's
I don't know
the it's a feature of Hegel, right? To where you create a whole new scenario, you create the confusion, you create the crisis, and then the people will ask for a solution. And that's what
Okay,
you're
yeah,
after.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Trump policy that I really like is the energy independence. We were able to achieve that up under his first term. And I
First time in 50 years.
Yep, absolutely. And talking about, you know, gas prices and everything coming down, and that has a direct effect on all of your other goods as well. You know, the cost of shipping and so forth. So it all helps the cost of living drop. When you have when you're energy independent, it also makes you more resourceful. You're able to sell more of that energy to other countries, and yeah, that's one of my biggest things for in supporting Trump. His stance on energy independence, using fossil fuels. I'm fine with electric vehicles and them being used as what would be the subsidiary for in assisting in energy and everything. That's fine. I think it's great, but it should not be a number one source. You know, from solar power to wind power, and I think using your nuclear power, I think is and drilling oil is the best way to go.
Yeah.
Energy independence.
Energy independence.
I think for me, there's so many things. But if I had to pick one favorite, I think it would be his foreign policy, both militarily and economically. One of the points that I've made many times is, you know, the 4 years that Trump was president was quite possibly the 4 of the most peaceful years in all of human civilization, because not only did he keep us he's one of the very few presidents that didn't start any new wars, but his influence as the leader of the world superpower prevented other, he was actively preventing other nations and other organizations from starting wars, and he's very anti-war. He is very much against war. And like, I love the interview where the interviewer kept pressing him about Russia and Ukraine. Like, which one do you want to win? Which you want Russia to win, don't you? Which one do you want to win? He said, I want people. I want the war to stop. And he's finally like, I want people to stop dying. People are dying.
That's right. Right.
And I mean, that is the way. I mean, he doesn't see things in terms of the way most people do, as far as like, oh, there's a war. Which side is going to win? We have to make sure the one that we support wins the war. If Trump wants people to stop dying. And so I believe he has the negotiating skills and the backbone to do whatever needs to be done. I'm sure y'all have seen the video of the guys talking about that were with him when he met with the leader of the Taliban.
Yeah,
when they were trying to do the controlled
that's right
withdrawal, and he told the leader of the Taliban, he said, if you harm a single hair on an American's head, I will kill you. And the interpreter, was like, he's like, no, tell him what I said. Tell him what I said. So the interpreter said it. And he reached in his coat pocket and he pulled out a satellite picture of the leader of the Taliban's home and handed it to him and turned around and walked out of the room. Dude, that's the kind of leadership we need.
Yeah.
That's
negotiation.
Peace through strength. That's not peace through appeasement, which is what we've seen the past 4 years.
That's your Captain Moroni stuff right there, baby.
That's right. Exactly. That is. And so militarily foreign policy and also economic foreign policy, that's been one of the things he's talked about his whole life. Like, there's videos from the 80s where him talking about, how United States is getting screwed by every country. And people, I've seen people try to twist his ideas to say that, oh, Trump's going to make things more expensive and he's going to make taxes higher on all imported goods and this and that and the other. Well, it's one of those things that's like kind of it's partially true, but the thing is right now we have very little to no taxes or tariffs on imported goods, whereas other countries impose, most all countries that we do business with impose tariffs to where American products are more expensive than their domestic created products. And that's something that Trump has always talked about reversing. Yeah. So yeah, one of his plans, his platforms is to impose tariffs on imported goods, which could in the short, and that's something Benjamin Netanyahu was on Jordan Peterson podcast and talked about how there was about a year or two that he was very unpopular with the Israeli people because he was implementing policies that were not short-term, there were long-term policies for the long-term benefit of the nation of Israel, which kind of like Trump's tariffs. Trump's tariffs in the short run would cause higher prices because so much of what we buy now is imported from China and Taiwan and countries where they pay people 5 cents an hour. And it would force us to go back to being a little bit more independent. It would force other nations to be more, there'd be more negotiating power as far as tariffs go. Once he does that, then our goods are going to cost more. But on the other hand, these other countries are going to be like, hey, we don't like this. You need to drop those tariffs. And Trump can say, okay, well, you drop your tariffs first. And I'll drop mine.
Right.
So at least something to
even the playing
or
field
bargain.
at the very least. Yeah, at the very least, even the playing field, if not actively encourage more American production.
All right, you got your thinking caps on. Ready for a little class session.
All right,
take us to school.
I found a short quote from de Tocqueville, and this Democracy in America is one I was looking for. And it speaks, I think, very well to our culture today with the equality movements, the wokeism, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, this is pretty fascinating for someone who wrote so long ago. This guy's super well read. Anyway, here we go. But you got to be thinking about it. So like whenever I would read this, I'd have to like get in Democracy in America mode to be able to even digest it a little bit. Here we go. The intellectual dominion of the greater number would probably be less absolute among a democratic people governed by a king than in the sphere of a pure democracy. But it will always be extremely absolute. And by whatever political laws men are governed in the ages of equality, which is our day, it may be foreseen that faith in public opinion will become for them a species of religion, and the majority its ministering prophet. Thus, intellectual authority will be different, but it will not be diminished. And far from thinking that it will disappear, I argue that it may readily acquire too much preponderance and confine the action of private judgment within narrower limits than are suited to either the greatness or the happiness of the human race. In the principle of equality, I very clearly discern two tendencies, one leading the mind of every man to untried thoughts, the other prohibiting him from thinking at all. And I perceive how, under the dominion of certain laws, democracy extinguished that of the mind to which a democratic social condition is favorable. So that after having broken all the bondages once imposed on it by ranks or by men, the human mind would be closely fettered to the general will of the greatest number. If the absolute power of a majority were to be substituted by democratic nations for all the different powers that checked or retarded overmuch the energy of individual minds, the evil would only have changed character. Men would not have found the means of independent life. They would simply have discovered, no easy task, a new physiognomy of servitude. There is, and I cannot repeat it too often, there is here matter for profound reflection to those who look on freedom of thought as a holy thing and who hate not only the despot, but despotism. For myself, when I feel the hand of power lie heavy on my brow, I care but little to who oppresses me. I care but little to know who oppresses me, and I am not the more disposed to pass beneath the yoke because it is held out to me by the arms of a million men.
Wow.
That's deep.
Yeah, that's one I would have to read over a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah. His writing is like that, but he's basically saying that if you have a so-called democratic country with a king, the king kind of runs things. People kind of have their opinions, but they don't really count for anything, so it doesn't really matter. But if you have a free and equal society where everyone's opinion counts and we're all in this together and equality and all that stuff, then those kind of boundaries disappear, and all of a sudden the majority becomes the smart play, and now the majority becomes the king. And so whatever is the most popular thing at the time, it kind of becomes the ruling authority, and now your freedom shrinks more and more.
More over time, right?
You can't buck the system because it's hate speech or whatever. It's the way it becomes. And so then he's saying at the end there that it doesn't really matter if it's one king that's got his boot on your neck or if it's a million people's popular opinion. Either way, it's a boot on your neck holding your freedoms at on the other side of it. And I just thought, man, this guy saw that way back then. That's a good read on human tendencies and power.
Well, you see that with people being canceled. Right.
I mean, exactly right. That's exactly what he's describing there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even the mention of the equity, the preachers of the equality, the diversity, all that kind of stuff. It reminds me of Nietzsche. It's the tarantulas from Thus Spake Zarathustra.
There you go. Tarantulas.
And
I'm gonna have nightmares now.
Yeah, I tell you, if you want some good listening, Jordan Peterson actually did a really good dramatic reading of Tarantulas from Thus Spake Zarathustra, and they artist Akira the Don, who took a lot of, he released a couple albums of Jordan Peterson's lectures, put to music. And so he did one with Tarantulas, where Peterson already did a really awesome dramatic reading of Tarantulas. And then, so yeah, Akira the Don put it to music, and it's pretty epic.
Nice.
Hey, I got some breaking news, man, as I'm listening.
I was going to say, should we check the map? Maybe one last
Glenn
time?
Beck. So they got the New York Times predicting Trump wins the popular vote by 1%.
Wow.
Yeah.
The popular
vote.
He better get the Electoral College too. Then
He's got to get the Electoral College. That's what matters, as that's kind of what we've been talking about. The Georgia vote, they got 93% in, but that has shrunk. His lead has shrunk there. He has narrowed 50.8 to 48.5. So it's narrowed slightly as more of those Atlanta areas come in.
So I think the last go around, Georgia was decided by about 11,000 votes, if I recall.
11,000 votes, man. That's that's not a lot of votes.
Wow.
In the grand scheme of things, that's pretty tight.
Yeah, it's getting.
What's the gap between in Georgia? What's the
But
a little over 100,000?
Yeah. I was gonna say a little less than 200,000.
Yeah, about 120,000.
Yeah.
And
it's not a lot. It's not a lot of room. How many people's in Atlanta?
I know, right? Well, 93%.
Reporting. All right, so check Pennsylvania. $50.9 and
86% reporting.
Man, those are going to be tight, man. Both these states. So let's do some math a little bit.
Oh no, math. You didn't tell me there was going to be math tonight, Jackson.
Yeah. So 270 is what they got to get to, right?
That's the magic number.
With those, so what's 230 plus those two states, 19 and 16? What is that? See if I can get let me put my calculator up.
19 and 16, 35.
So that puts him at 265. So he would need one more state. He would need one more state.
Who's 19 and 16? Pennsylvania and Georgia.
Pennsylvania's 19, Georgia's 16. But we've still got the
Michigan, Wisconsin.
Yeah, so which he's leading. So he's leading all the red states. Well, hey, go to Arizona.
Close.
Still tight.
Still
10,000
reporting too. So
51%. Yeah.
12,000 people.
Yeah. Man,
so I think
if we can win Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, all those that are leaning that way right now, man, that'd be awesome. That would be a blowout. That'd be a blowout.
Hawaii's already come in blue. Apparently, that's
yeah. They just called that a little bit ago.
Alaska doesn't Alaska usually vote Republican?
1 a.m. is what they say. Yes, they do.
Typically,
yeah.
But they frequently have split representation. They'll have a Democratic senator or a Democratic congressman or congresspeople, and then a Republican as well.
Yep.
So you hover over Michigan and then Wisconsin and see where we are there.
Yeah, Michigan's
okay. Michigan's 52% reporting this.
Yeah, it's probably if they're hanging back on Detroit, which wouldn't surprise me, then that might change a fair amount.
And then
Wisconsin too. That one's further along though, 80%.
Yeah.
And they were saying Minnesota. How close is Minnesota? That one's blue or purple or whatever. But he's 59%. Yeah. He's a good bit ahead.
Yeah, she is. Yeah. With Georgia, I think we've got about 375,000 votes left to be counted. Yep, and Trump's ahead by 120.
Yeah, so we need
120ish. So
we still need a good bit of those.
yeah.
Are you seeing which counties are left?
I was just going to ask that. Can you see which ones are still counting, Kenny?
No, I mean, this map isn't broken down by county, so I don't know about that.
I mean, if you clicked on Georgia, would it break it down further or no?
Let me see. I don't know. Let's see. Let's try and see what happens.
Oh,
Maybe. Oh, it does. Looky there. I didn't even know I could do that.
are those two gray ones down at the bottom? Are they they're still lacking? Is that what's going on?
I'm not sure what that is. They look green to me right now.
That's right. Now that's Clinch County. I think that's
I was gonna
green.
say,
I think
isn't
that's
that
Clinch
Clinch
County
right
and Clinch County, and I'm not sure what that other one is.
But wow, there's little blue islands in amongst all the red there.
Yeah, those are your big those are your cities, man. Savannah, Macon, Augusta,
Macon, yeah.
And this is Albany down here, the southern western part of Georgia. That's Albany.
Yep.
Is that not Ware County in the bottom middle? No,
no.
I thought
Ware County's
it
one
wrapped
up.
around like that.
It does. You see the little block. If you'll
Yeah, see Ware County goes down to there. It has a little.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I knew it went all the way down around the swamp. It doesn't say though which counties are still counting.
I'm assuming it would be these because the rest of them look like they're either
colored
red or
in.
blue.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm not sure if all these have been called.
There can't be 400,000 people down in Clinch
right.
and-
Yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't make sense. You're right. Not sure then.
Maybe it's just fragments, like they're all being called blue, but they're not done counting, or called red, not done counting, or whatever.
Let me see this Georgia election interactive map, county by county. Let me see.
What's up with Nevada? Not even reporting anything.
Yeah, they're behind, man. They're
they're too busy out there gambling, man. They're out there waiting for.
They're placing their bets still.
Hey, yeah. What's that site with the actual bets, man? Where they're betting on the election now?
Oh yeah, I've seen that. I thought about doing it myself, but I didn't.
Oh, I'm betting. All right.
Yeah, you bet your life.
Yeah.
Bet your children's future on it.
Mm-hmm. Made my bet the other day early.
Current presidential election betting odds based on polling averages.
Oh, Arizona's still reddish. Well, how are we looking over there?
Ooh. Oh, it's
Still same
Arizona's
close
still so
margins.
close. It could go either way. It's only 51% reporting. And it's just
So what time is it right now?
12:26 a.m.
Is it really?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, what have you been doing, Jackson?
I don't know. Well, I was looking at this. So the current betting odds as of 11 is the reason I asked is because it's got right here as of 11:30. Chances to win Trump at 92%.
Oh, wow.
And Kamala 7% and change. Says Donald Trump has become an overwhelming favorite to win the presidential election as we approach midnight. Trump's odds to win the election are, says negative 4,000, giving him a 92.13% chance of winning the presidency. Wow. Yeah. Harris's chances of winning the election have obviously become more and more slim as the night has gone on. Analysts believe her best chance now lies solely in winning the blue wall, which is made up of swing states Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And all three of those are red right now.
Yeah.
Or burgundy, or whatever you want to call them.
Pennsylvania just narrowed, or maybe it was already narrowed again. 200,000.
Yeah.
Not even.
Yeah, that could still go either way.
It still can, man. I feel like I need to stay up and keep my eyes on it just to make sure, right? Because last time I went to sleep.
After what happened 4 years ago, I'm scared to go to sleep, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, Trump's ahead by 170,000 roughly in Pennsylvania. 86%. 86% reporting.
In Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
hmm But now, if I recall, a bunch of those counties, that's where I was saying Scott Pressler, you got to check in with him. I think several of those counties he flipped as far as Republican registration outranked Democratic registration. And that's not even to talk about turnout, but he was getting them pretty fired up there.
Man, that's what we should have been doing.
What's
Yeah. I'm gonna feel bad. I'm gonna feel bad if this doesn't go well. I'm gonna
Yeah.
think of all the
Well,
things I could have done locally to make a difference that I didn't do.
It's hard. Like Jackson said, man, you're working. I'm working, taking my kids to baseball practice or football practice or piano lessons or whatever. Like,
Yeah, about the most you can do. It kind of feels like, is donate to some, whether it's a campaign or something.
Or argue
Well, I
on
say-
Facebook with someone.
That's been my primary
Yeah, that's right.
strategy. I've been arguing with people on Facebook. Yeah.
Say, I can't turn wine into water, but I can change any conversation into an argument.
That's right.
right.
Amen. I proved it.
Well, I say let's hang on for 10 minutes, 9.5 minutes to make this thing a 3-hour Joe Rogan. Hang in there, man. Joe Rogan, he got some stamina, man. What's he taking for these things?
Oh man, he's
Ginseng.
taking some of
There
that
you go.
alpha. What is it, Alpha Brain? The thing he talks about.
Yeah,
all
that's
the time?
right. Alpha Brain. That's right.
Marijuana.
Let's see if any of our viewers out there got any comments, anything, any questions, any thoughts. You think Trump's bringing it home? Are you a Trump supporter? Or are you a Kamala supporter? What we got?
I'm sure if
Anybody?
the Kamala supporters are not watching us no more.
I don't know. They might be watching
Hey,
us just
so-
to have something to be angry about.
So let me ask y'all this. How much of the left podcast mainstream media do you keep up with? Like just to get an idea of what they're saying. Does it does it
so
get
you
up
mean
under your
today or no?
skin? Are you able to listen to it?
I don't listen to it honestly because
Yeah.
it does bother me. I used to try to be more. So honestly, I used to listen to NPR hardcore for several years. I did because NPR was in my mind was like the most unbiased, like that. I'm going to get kind of balanced, news and stuff like that. But NPR got worse and worse to where they were just as bad as CNN or MSNBC pretty much. And I quit listening to NPR. It's crazy.
Yep, I know. I don't really listen to much of any of it anymore. I generally try not to argue anymore on social media and stuff. I'll talk to people in person. But that's about it.
It's kind of the advantage of having your own little platform here. You can say what you want to say, and then if people want to listen, they can. If they don't, they ain't got to. You know what I mean? But,
Right.
But I still get to say what I want to say
That's right.
until YouTube takes us down for saying too much or something.
Yeah,
That's right.
it's possible, man. YouTube is Chris.
Yep.
Harris campaign has stopped talking to the press.
Really?
Is that that's what someone had reported from Fox News? Don't know if that's.
You hang in there,
everyone
Chris.
Yeah, I don't know if I do it, Chris. I'm old, man.
Yep.
Chris is going to be our designated
Yeah, poll watcher.
watcher here.
That's right, Chris. You got to watch the polls for us while us old folks go to bed and go to sleep.
Let's see what else we got. Any other news? Publix out here selling firewood like we all ain't got. Let me say it again. Publix out here selling firewood like we all ain't still got a tree laying down in our backyard.
Exactly.
That's right. That's good.
Tonight is like a combination of Christmas Eve and the night before colonoscopy.
Oh, wow. Hey, should I? So let me ask you this: should I share this kind of a parody? Why men for Kamala Harris here? White dudes for?
If you want.
Was the other one like a real ad?
No, that was real.
That was
That's
that was
crazy.
legit.
That was
Harris
real.
ad.
I
Yeah.
have-
Here's kind of a make fun of.
Well, you can't make it funnier than that. The real one was funny.
Yeah. Here, let me share this real quick. Nothing good happens after midnight, right?
That's what they say.
Let me see if I think this is the one. Let's see.
You're not a child, you're a man. So stop wearing so many layers to go outside and get the Bearskin Tactical Hoodie 4.0.
Yeah, this is it.
Man, I'm a man.
I'm a man.
Ah.
I'm a man. I'm a macho man.
I'm a macho man.
United States. I lift barbell.
I can fit an entire can of Foster's in my mouth.
Anyways, you think I'm afraid to get my hands dirty?
You think I'm afraid of bears?
Bears.
I'll tell you another thing I'm sure as shit not afraid of. Women. All of my besties are women.
Everyone in my book club is a woman.
Last year, I did a wine tour in Tuscany with women.
I'm physically attracted exclusively to women.
Ew, gross. A woman wants to be president? Well, I'm man enough to give her my full-throated support.
You already had me at full-throated.
Because I'm man enough to raw dog a flight.
Raw dog.
Because I'm man enough to support women. I'm sick of so-called men dominating, controlling, and belittling women.
That's what I'm here for. Pound me like a chicken breast.
I'm man enough to not ban young women from reading Little Women. You know, I'm not actually sure anyone wants to do that.
Put on a scary clown mask and tell me I...
Because I love women who take charge.
And I'm man enough to help them win.
That's the one. That's the thing Trump made fun of at the what was it, the press dinner or whatever. He said,
Right.
I'm not worried about men for Harris or whatever because all their wives and their wives' lovers are going to vote for me anyway or something like that.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah, he's a witty guy, I tell you. Did you ever see the Comedy Central roast of Donald Trump?
That
years ago?
was
That was before.
that's
he
what
ran,
kind of they said that kind of contributed to him running.
It was good. If you, I mean, obviously it was very vulgar, but Trump's funny. Trump has wit. Like he's a witty guy.
Hey, hold on. Let me see if I can pull this up right there. So they're talking on Glenn Beck right now. They're talking about being called. Let me see.
You want to pull it up?
Sure.
We are seeing.
Pull that up there.
We are
Jackson.
getting close to the time. If they don't declare this pretty soon, we're getting dangerously close to the theft of this election.
Yes, we are.
So this reminds you more of 2020 than it does 2016 when we fell asleep and we woke up to good news.
Oh yeah, this they stop. If they don't declare tonight on those 3 states, we're going to wake up tomorrow and they may still be counting, or it will go the other way.
Should absolutely come out and declare victory. They don't have a path. There's no point anymore.
What does that do? If he comes and declares victory, does that change anything? How does it help him?
No, actually, it further marginalizes mainstream media, demonstrates we've moved past you.
Yeah.
You're irrelevant. You don't get to make the calls
But
here.
does it affect anything?
The
Yeah,
average
it does.
person hates the media, doesn't care.
It does affect once you declare victory, it cements it in the minds of people.
I'm afraid it's going to cause chaos.
Yeah,
It's going to cause chaos.
yeah. Beck was saying that that Trump needs to, at a certain time, he needs to come out and declare victory.
Well, CNN called Georgia.
What?
Yeah.
CNN
Uh-oh.
for Trump.
Yep, sure enough. I'm seeing it up here.
What is it?
Holy cow. That's huge, y'all.
What did they say? CNN said what?
That's exactly why I'm here.
Can you turn it up? I can't hear it.
Oh, you can't hear?
No, it's really quiet on my end here.
Kind of a thing. And exactly what Stu just said. Do
Better.
whatever.
Delay allows for any kind of excuse to come up, you know.
Oh,
And
yeah.
The more time that goes
I mean,
on, the
look-
more they can say, look, votes was suppressed over here, or this happened over here.
If you are a business person and you know you're dead and dead in the water, you don't want to say we're dead in the water until you've exhausted, until you've met with everybody and said, is there anything that we can do here?
Yeah.
And that's what's happening. And they have the middle of the night to do that.
I think more, there's a motivation from the media's perspective is they don't want the thing that happened to Fox to happen to them. They don't want to be responsible for that call of the big state that everyone's holding out hope for, right? Because everyone on MSNBC's audience, if they call Michigan right now, they're going to get pissed not at Donald Trump. They're going to get pissed at MSNBC.
What has to happen though is, and this is where it is critical for the people like you, Stu, honestly, to go and take a break, go back in and look at the counties, because you can only do that so far. You know, if you're at 94, 95%, and you still have a big blue area to count, there's reason not to call it. But if you're only looking at red counties left, that's suspect.
Yeah, it seems like, certainly like Georgia, they just, you guys just mentioned that potentially it was called. I haven't seen it yet. We haven't called it yet. But
They were watching it live out there.
yeah. So,
Also, Embassy is calling Senate control for Republicans.
Gotcha.
Okay, cool.
this news coming into tonight, I feel like this room would have been like cheerful. Like there would have been.
What you think?
So that's what that was the announcement CNN started
Yeah.
with, was Georgia Senate Republican control.
So I've got it up here on NBC, and NBC called Georgia for Trump, and they called
Georgia for Trump. Okay.
Georgia for Trump. Yep. Hey, Kenny, pull your map up and see if it shows it there.
Let's see.
And then they've also called the
Senate, the U.S. Senate Republican
US
control.
Senate. Yeah, they now have 51 seats.
Gotcha.
It's still showing.
Mm,
Have you refreshed?
I'm about to, as we're doing right now. Oh man, come on, AP.
It took them a while though. Even on the North Carolina, remember it was called somewhere else before that. What's the numbers on Georgia now? There.
Yeah, what's the numbers? Still 93.
No, it's still the same, 93%. The numbers went up a little bit though. Still about 120 though, 120,000 different. So they still got to update it there. Any update on the others? Pennsylvania, Michigan?
See.
Same.
He still needs one. Even if he's won Georgia, he still needs one of those three: Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. He still has to have one of those.
Pennsylvania's looking pretty strong right now. They got 86% reporting.
Yeah,
Michigan
and
and
he's
Wisconsin though,
about 3% ahead.
I don't know. He's got a pretty good lead. Michigan's only 56% reporting, but
Yeah.
he's got a pretty strong lead there.
If
Wisconsin,
yeah.
that's the one that could.
No, that's about a 4% lead, and it's
Yeah.
82% reporting.
So he's got a pretty strong lead in all.
Well,
three.
I wonder, because it still seems to me like that's a sizable gap. Who are those votes going towards? You know, like are they really third partying it on those states?
Right. That's kind of what Glenn Beck's talking. That's what he was talking before I shared the screen. He was talking about that. That's where, like, if all three states, if these states or the four states at the time, if those states come out and say, hey, it's too close to call, we're going to pick this back up in the morning and
Right.
and continue our counting. He says at that
Yeah.
point, Trump needs to come out and declare victory.
Yeah.
At that point, he says, otherwise, we're going to end up the same way we did in 2020.
Right. Yeah.
Votes are going to show
Some
up out of
anomaly.
nowhere. Yeah. Something crazy. Your chart is going to shoot up. Right.
Kenny, will you click on Michigan? Can you look at the counties at Michigan and see what Detroit looks like?
Let's see here.
So again, looks like some gray counties are the more rural areas. Wow, Flint is red. How about that? Did not expect that.
Yeah, see, they've got a few green counties, like Georgia had a couple green counties.
Yeah.
Yep.
I wish we had an overlay of the previous versus current. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
how many counties went from blue to red or whatever.
Right. So what do y'all think? Let's say he's got Georgia, according to NBC.
Right. He's leading in Wisconsin, Michigan, and
And
Pennsylvania.
And let's say all three
and
of those
Arizona
three.
technically. But
Yeah.
he's leading in 4 of the 4. He needs what? Technically 2, I guess.
Yeah, well,
2
if
would
he's
lock
got-
it up.
That's right. Yeah. Well, if he's got Georgia, I think he only needs one, doesn't he? Or no? Or 230 plus 16 is 246. Well, he
he
may
would
need
need
2.
another one. If
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think that it would be a smart move for him to declare victory without having these major media outlets call it, or not?
I think if there's any talk about them delaying it, saying postpone until tomorrow to finish the counting, I think he should. Or I think it's reasonable for him to do that,
Reasonable
especially
to do
given
that.
the last time around and the funny business and
being in the lead in all these states, he's in the lead.
right.
Yeah. I just hope you're right, Jackson, that the Republican Party is prepared this time, because
Right.
I'm still nervous that there's going to be something's going to happen about 4:00 in the morning. There's going to be
Right.
some kind of weird thing happen. Yeah, a truckload
Well,
of mysterious ballots pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah. I think we're time for people to go to jail for stuff, like it's kind of a mess that all the things that have happened in the past at least decade, maybe 2 decades is more accurate, to where people in high office have literally gotten away with criminal activity. Or even if it's not criminal, even if it's just negligence or incompetence or whatever, and they don't get fired, they don't get anything. It just keeps on going, It's ridiculous.
Right.
And I think it's time that there's accountability and there's consequences.
That's the thing. The accountability and consequences. It doesn't. Nothing ever happens. It seems like.
Right. Yeah. Well, Georgia did it.
Yep. Well, all righty.
That's close, man. Oh man, this is it's a real nail biter, I tell you. It's something that's another thing. These presidential races, it always gets me how close they are. Like, no matter how loved one candidate is, and even if one is just everybody loves them, everybody hates the other one. It's always so close.
Essentially, we're split down the middle. Essentially,
It feels on everything. Yeah. I mean, it feels fake though. It feels like it's all contrived. It's all designed to give us the illusion of something.
Right.
Said that in 1984, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So there's always conflict. There's always wars, and they just change it up from time to time arbitrarily, but just keep you pacified or occupied.
Occupied and entertained, right, Joe?
That's right. Give them bread and circuses.
That's what I was about to say. Bread and circuses. That's exactly what it is. Oh my goodness gracious.
Oh man, I forgot to leave out cookies and milk for Donald Trump. It's after midnight, and you think think I still got time?
Yeah. All right, y'all ready to call on our end?
I think so.
We got to get up and go to work.
Yeah, somebody has to.
Hey,
Brother Popular's still with us.
That's right.
There we
Okay.
go.
Yeah, back. Yep. I'm an oil painter, and I'm staying up until I hear him speak. There you go.
Wow, nice.
Yep.
Wow.
That's
good deal.
So I've got appointments in the field tomorrow, but I on purpose didn't set my first one until 11 o'clock. So if I need to sleep in a little bit,
yeah,
I can do that. At the same time,
Smart.
I need to get up and get to work too. So
Can do something. There we go.
yeah, Chris
Thanks,
says he'll
Chris.
hold it down.
You hold it down for us.
That's right.
Passing the torch over to you.
That's right. All right, everybody. We are going to bring this one to a close. It's been fun. Thank you for tuning in, sharing your thoughts. Thank you for the newcomers. Hope you'll stick around. We do a Come Follow Me podcast. I've been doing this. We're in our 5th year now.
Yep.
And we have we post those every Sunday at some point, and then we started adding some linger longer, some commentary on some world news, some church news, some parenting tips and what the prophets are saying. So just getting a little more involved there. So hopefully we all wake up tomorrow morning with no funny business going on, and that the authentic results can be whatever they are. We just hope they're honest. That's all we ask for. That's all we ask for.
Yep.
Yep. All right. Until next time, y'all keep on striving.